That black, that's the muscle. All this white stuff in here, that's fat. You see all this fat inside the muscle here? There's no muscle, y'all. It's nothing but fat. This is what I was talking about when I was saying you don't want to be what you call sarcopenic. Sarcopenic obesity means that the fat infiltrate has eaten up the muscle. There's no muscle. And that's why you see a lot of older people end up on canes and walkers, because the fat, the visceral fat, take over the muscles where they become sarcopenic. Sarcopenic means your muscles are eaten away. And that's why it's important for you to get into weight training and you know, weight training is good for your bones and it's good for your skeletal muscle, because that is what gives you longevity, y'all. During the pandemic, no, I wasn't fasting to lose weight. I was fasting to hear from my Father about my mission. Okay? But during that time, fasting and praying and just waiting on the Lord and just waiting. Just waiting. He was renewing my strength. My strength is my joy. I got my joy back during that time. While everybody was panicking and crying about this pandemic, I was having fun making stuff, sewing and crafting and building things with my hands. I was building with my hands. Little dioramas and stuff, and making storylines and learning how to write. Now I'm using that skill to write my own book and getting creative and joyful and meeting people online with that hobby. Okay? Learning to get into a hobby instead of sitting there using your hands to feed your face with junk. You're going to be using your hands to build things or sew or do some kind of hobby instead of eating. In America, we made eating our hobby. I'm serious. We made eating our hobby. Eating this garbage. Sitting in front of the TV, watching the This is Kingdom Queen Talk YouTube, and I am Lady Tay, the Vision Queen. Guys, it is November. Yes, we are almost at the end of the year, and we just finished our 90-day challenge, and I had a few of my warrior queens that have had some great results that we're going to talk about later. But guys, I'm excited tonight to be able to talk to you again about what is visceral fat, because I believe that's a subject that we really need to talk about and discuss. And most people in America have it. So we're going to be talking about that. We're continuing our series, Vision of Modern Food. We have done part 1 through part 4. So if you have not watched Vision of Modern Food on my Kingdom Queen Talk channel, it's time for you to get caught up, okay? We discussed a lot of things. We discussed about food ingredients. We discussed how to read labels, and we will be doing more of the reading labels. Guys, we got so much to cover, I'm telling you. And we discussed insulin resistance, and we're going to be doing a part 2 of insulin resistance, because I wanted to do some footage with Dr. Robert Lustig, who is one of the experts of talking about metabolic diseases, which what most of us have. There's heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease. All these diseases that we have today come from this modern food. And guess what? It is what you call a metabolic disorder. And that's good news because that means if you change the way you eat, you can reverse these diseases. Okay? Because what they're doing is they're making your body be in what I call not at ease. Remember, we discussed words. Dis-ease, disease come from dis-ease. Your body is not at ease, and that's where this inflammation come from. When your body is inflamed, it's always constantly trying to heal itself by inflaming to heal. Well, the reason why I never heal is because we keep poisoning ourselves with this modern food. So that's why I said this have to be a ongoing series for a while, because I want you guys to finally be able to be equipped with knowledge and wisdom, just like I had to get during my fasting period and preparing myself to be able to do Kingdom Queen Talk and to be able to be a good coach to help you guys get healed like God had me get healed when I found all these different doctors. So tonight we're going to continue talking about what is visceral fat, and we're going to talk about why it matters and the danger of visceral fat. So we're going to continue that, okay? I filmed this before, but I don't think the first filming we did went into enough detail. So that's why we're doing it again, okay? Anyway, I'm going to shout out to my ladies tonight. My warrior queens are coming into the room, and I'm just so proud of these ladies. We've been together, guys, since February, and we started off in the crown room, and we've been talking about, you know, different things, vision building, our mindset, our crown, our beauty crown, and now we're filling it in with knowledge. So I just appreciate you ladies for being with me all this time. It's been a wonderful journey. I hope you guys have been enjoying yourselves. You're my family. My warrior queens are my family. And if you want to join the warrior queens, I want to make sure I tell you, all you have to do is go to kingdomqueentalk.com and click on the link that says Diamond Strong Coaching Community, and it's totally free. All you have to do is submit your request, answer the questions, and me and my admins will let you in. That way you can be a part of the group and you can ask me live questions. This is a good opportunity for you guys to get equipped with knowledge and to be able to ask me questions that, you may be having in your journey. You don't have to go at this alone. And not only that, you have almost 50 other people in the room that are going through the same things that you're going through, and we're a community. We are a family. They will let you know. My sister Michelle in the room, my sister Queen, she's also an admin. We gotten close. We're family. You will find family when you join a community. And it makes it easier to be able to do these changes that we're talking about, okay? So if you're looking for a family, a group of ladies, warrior queens to join and be able to ask questions with, and, see their questions, and you may have the same questions, and to join our group, because we do this live on Sundays. And you can ask questions and see that they're asking the same questions. go ahead and join, okay? It doesn't cost you anything. The coaching 101 with me, that's what the price will cost you, okay? And Jasmine would be the first one to tell you that that's something you may want to consider, because that was able to help her finally, reduce her weight. I'm not going to tell you how much, but she'll have to tell you. But she will let you know that she was not able to make those changes until she did one-on-one coaching with me. But a lot of the things you will learn in the room, that if you're already there mentally, you'll be able to go ahead and start doing your fasting or whatever you're trying to do. So go ahead and join the coaching community, okay? And I want to shout out to my ladies. I see Nina's in the room. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see Michelle is in the room. I look forward to our conversation that we're going to have, Nina, tomorrow night. So we're gonna be having our session together. So I'm telling you guys, this is a family here, and we look out for one another and we work together and help one another. So you want to join us, okay? And who else came into the room? Hey, Michaela. Looks like Michaela came in too. Hi, Michaela. Welcome back. It's been a while since I've seen you, little sister. Good to see you. Guys, I'm glad you're here because, I believe this subject is very important. It will also help you, be equipped to why you should continue on your journey that you're doing with the fasting and reducing your weight. You're not just getting the weight off, you're actually healing your organs. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I believe my little niece Jasmine will be in soon. So we're going to go ahead and get started, okay? Last time we talked, we did Vision of Modern Food, guys. That was a very powerful message. If you have not watched that yet, make sure you go ahead and watch that. That was a really powerful message. I've been making clips from that, so make sure you watch that, okay? Anyway, we're gonna... Okay. I'm sorry, my slides are all out of order. All right, so our first Vision of Modern Foods, we did part 1, part 2, part 3, and we just did part 4 last time. Make sure you guys go back and look for these thumbnails and look at these, okay? You are God's beloved, guys. Remember, you are God's beloved. That's why He brought you here, okay? You are God's masterpiece, chosen, set apart, handpicked. You are anointed, sealed by God. You are precious. You are priceless. You are unbreakable. You are diamond strong, baby. So that's why we are called Diamond Strong Coaching Community. And I'm telling you, those who continue with me, you're going to notice that you're getting stronger in your word, stronger in your faith, and also getting stronger with conquering these addictions, guys. You are diamond strong. Change is mandatory for extraordinary results, okay? You're not this cold. You are this diamond, and you will notice that as you get through these things, you will start shining even more with God's splendor, and you're going to become a testimony, and people are going to be asking, what is different about you? What have you been doing? And then that's when you'll be able to share your testimony, okay? My people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. That is Hosea 4:6. That's my job, is to try to tell as many people as possible about this health issues, this modern food, because a lot of people dying for lack of knowledge because they don't know that the very food that these companies are creating is the very food that's causing us to get these early diseases at an early age. And a lot of it come from this visceral fat that we're going to be talking about. And because they're dying at an early age, they're not able to get into their purpose. They're not able to shine and do and be able to get into their purpose that God have us do. It's about your purpose, guys. It's about your purpose. And if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Guys, that is one of the things that I did. I asked God, I asked God what to do. When I wanted to finally get healed and I wanted to get that weight off of me, I said I wanted to do it. I wanted to get 100 pounds off, but I didn't know how. Now, how did I do that? I wrote down the vision and I made it plain and I asked God. During my fasting, I asked God. God gave me the wisdom. It wasn't me. I can't take credit for that. All right? It was God that showed me these doctors. It was God that showed me the books to read. It was God who pointed these different people in my direction during my fasting to teach me how to get the weight off, why I had the weight on in the first place, because you have to know why, okay? Because when you know why, that helps you get a strategy, y'all. It was God who showed me. God's wisdom. You have to have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Understanding is key. You have to understand why you have this addiction. Where did it come from? He showed me that. During my fasting, he showed me where the traumas came from. He showed me everything. So I'm telling you, James 1:5 is true. If you lack wisdom, ask God, who will give to you the wisdom. I didn't have to pay nobody. I didn't have to pay for no diet pills or anything to get the weight off. This is the first time I have ever been down to my ideal weight. And I did not have to pay for Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig. I didn't have to pay for those diet programs, those diet pills, Hydroxycut, Metabolife, Herbalife. I've done all of that. I've done all of that. And I was not able to be successful at it like I am now because I didn't ask God then what to do. But this time I finally got wise enough to ask God. This woman decided that she wanted to be a wise woman that built her house. Okay? Proverbs 14. A wise woman built her house, and a foolish one tears it down. I decided I didn't want to be the foolish woman anymore. I wanted to be the wise woman that built her house. How do I had to do that? I had to get God's wisdom. That's why I wear pearls. Pearls. God's wisdom. That's why he say don't cast your pearls to swine. Pearls represent God's godly wisdom. Okay? I had to become a wise woman with God's wisdom to finally start turning my life around. And I tell you, I would never, I can't take the credit for that. I have to give God the glory for that story. Okay? So I'm telling you, it's true. You lack wisdom, you better ask God, because God is the one that's going to give it to you. This world, all they want to do is charge you for everything. Charge you for this, charge you for that. And they know what they doing when they making us sick. They know what they doing when um they making this food addictive and making us sick. They know exactly what they doing. Okay? I see Jasmine came in the room. Welcome, niece. Welcome. Good to see you. All right, guys. This is WebMD. It says, "What is visceral fat?" And as you can see in the picture, you can see visceral fat is inside here, and subcutaneous fat is on the outside. Okay. Visceral fat is fat that wraps around your organs in your belly that are deep inside you. It surrounds your liver, intestines, and stomach and other internal organs. It's it's healthy and normal to have some visceral fat, but everyone does. But this fat can protect your internal organs, but sometimes it's called active fat because it affects the way your body function. But too much visceral fat isn't good for you. It comes with more risk for health problems such as diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. While this type of fat might go along with having a bigger belly that you can see on the outside, well, visceral fat you can't see. You can't see visceral fat. It also possible you could have a flat stomach and little fat, and you can still have visceral fat inside of you. But usually the amount of visceral fat you have will go up along with your other body fat. Only an expensive scan can measure precisely how much visceral fat you have, but your doctor won't order a test just for that reason. If you want to have a rough idea, you can use a simple tape measure to estimate it with your waist size, or you can get that biopedance scale that I was talking to you guys about, um, that you can get. I have one of those, and I actually told Jasmine to get one of those, I believe. And I think I told you, Michelle, to get one of those scales. And it will help you be able to measure your visceral fat. But as you can see, the visceral fat is that fat here that's around the organs. Not this outer layer, but this inner layer here, okay? And this guy, Sean O'Mara, is a doctor that specializes in talking about this visceral fat. And we're going to go ahead and watch his video now. And ladies, I know this is live. If you have to go at some time, that's fine. But I'm going to stay to the end of this, and it's very long, but I understand if you can't stay the whole time. But please do if you can, because it will be really nice for you to be able to stay with me and ask any questions that you may have as he talk, and we can discuss this more later, okay? I'm going to go ahead and play it now, okay?
To optimize your health and happiness, both mentally and physically. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of the Plant Free MD. And today I have another return guest, Dr. Sean O'Mara. He had an excellent podcast together the other day talking about visceral fat and how this can seriously negatively affect your health, and how actually curing it of your body can actually reverse a lot of these diseases. Dr. O'Mara, thank you so much for coming back on.
Yeah, well, great to be with you, Dr. Chaffee. I really appreciate the opportunity to return and hopefully get some better imagery that we were technically challenged
Yeah.
by our first podcast, and I'll take responsibility for that. But I'm not as technically versed as I am clinically. My passions clearly lie within the realm of medical biology and science, and not technical capabilities on screen sharing and camera rotation. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the audience that we didn't get it right the first time, but this is another opportunity to get together
Mhm.
and discuss the same content and go through those slides that we weren't able to share last time.
Yeah, well, no, it's great, and I think that it would be great to come in and just sort of go through it again because even seeing the same sort of thing again and hearing it again in a different format can really nail things home for people. So I think that's very very beneficial, and obviously we'll add new things to that as well. So I think that'll be pretty great, and I appreciate your time coming back on.
Absolutely, great to be back.
Perfect. All right, great. Well, I'll leave it to you. Take it away. You can share your screen
Yeah,
and you can get going.
yeah. So
Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it,
Excuse this
the Carnivore Bar
commercial,
is a great
y'all.
option.
I will
So
be
I like this
clipping this
product
out.
not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support
And he's
meat-only
a
products,
carnivore
the more
doctor.
meat-only products that will be available in the mainstream. So if this
But you
sounds
don't
like
have to
something
be
you'd like to get
carnivore
behind,
to use
check it
this
out using my
information.
discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
okay, so great. I am excited to be able to show these slides, and for the sake of the audience, I have learned about an interesting tool using MRI to track biomarkers inside the body. And the history behind this is that we purpose for a National Science Foundation grant to try to revert chronic disease. And my research partner, Dr. Zhang, who first introduced me to what I think is the most powerful biomarker right now that I have found to improve and optimize the health of humans and eliminate chronic disease is visceral fat. And I learned about it back in 2013. And Dr. Zhang at that time actually invited me to have my own visceral fat scanned. And so we started collaborating, working together. He invited me into his research practice. And we worked together for 7 years studying visceral fat, and then subsequently learned a number of other biomarkers, both inside the body and outside the body. So for the sake of the audience, I thought I'd make a quick introduction how I got started on utilizing MRIs to track this interesting biomarker. And what we did and what I continue to do today now, outside of my research practice that we had to close because of COVID, I will scan clients who are interested in working with me to optimize their health, their abdomens, and I typically, look at several areas within the abdomen. But what's interesting about visceral fat is it tends to be fairly symmetric at all levels. So regardless of the level you look at, you get a good indication of how much visceral fat is present. In other words, you don't get a disproportionate amount in a certain area. And so it's fairly symmetric and so reliable. You can just take a look at any particular area. But in this graphic, we show the transverse plane here and axial cuts through the abdomen. And it gives a representation in the image below of what an unaltered view of an MRI scan through the abdomen looks like. And the dark structures at the bottom of the picture are the back muscles, and the white in the center of the image in the bottom is visceral fat, and the white around the sides is subcutaneous fat. In the image above, we change the colors to help people understand more quickly and easily. Visceral fat is the red in the center, and subcutaneous fat is on the outside. Now, what's important for people to understand and appreciate is that not all fat is the same. So increasingly, and I'm very grateful to hear and see that this is happening, visceral fat is coming into vogue, and you're hearing more and more about it because of its association and connection with, if not causality, of chronic disease. So it has a very different characteristic. I call it, say it's bricks and clouds compared to subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat really, if it's largely at least just benign in most cases. You certainly could have too much subcutaneous fat where it could be really problematic and have too much. But those individuals decide, I think, a certain amount of subcutaneous fat, and exactly how much is ideal. It's not really known at this point. I think we have to do studies, but it does, in fact, appear to have benefit and a protective characteristic for organisms that have it. So you certainly want some degree of subcutaneous fat, but visceral fat you want to eliminate because of its metabolically active state, where it's secreting cytokines and inflammatory molecules. And for the sake of the layperson, bad stuff comes from visceral fat, and its proximity to organs, within the abdominal cavity and the circulatory cavity, the portal vein, allows it to have influence throughout the entire body. So visceral fat has this amazing capacity for detrimentally influencing the body of the hosts all over. So it doesn't just go after a few areas. It goes after what appears to be every cell in the body has some sort of exposure and vulnerability to the harmful nature of visceral fat. So that being an introduction of visceral fat, let me slide to another example that I think is important to understand. So what I'd really like to share with the audience is, Anthony, the ability to understand what a good amount of visceral, abdominal scan looks like, and what a bad abdominal scan looks like. So can you still see those images? Having rotate the next one, does that show up?
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
I want to pause for a minute. Guys, I don't know if you heard what he was saying, but he also said that not only does visceral fat um, wrap around your organs and tight around your organs, but it also releases what he said cytokines, which it causes inflammation. Okay, so this stuff is not just fat that's pushing against your organs, it's also releasing toxins in your body that's causing your body to go into inflammation. And that's why visceral fat is so horrible, y'all, because it's releasing these cytokines that are causing inflammation. So this fat is actually making you sick with toxins, along with it being in there and pushing against your organs. So that's important for y'all to listen to that. And also pay attention to these different scans and how he show you how it looks with the MRI scan, okay? You could really see a difference. So make sure you paying a close attention to that, okay? All right, let's get back to it.
Okay, so on the image on the top, you see is a abdominal MRI of a friend from the Army National Guard, Gabe. Gabe has an enormous amount of muscles. So if you look at the dark structures, those are muscles or show up as on an MRI as dark, and fat shows up as white. So Gabe is predominantly muscle. And he has a paucity, or a very small amount of visceral fat, which is some of the white streaks that you see kind of in the top middle portion of the abdomen. the ones that are kind of almost like lightning bolts or something, like slightly towards the bottom, maybe bottom half or bottom third, is actually retroperitoneal fat, and not metabolically active. It's not visceral fat. It's outside the peritoneal lining, and the dark structures, two kind of circular structures to the left and right, kind of in the center area of that. Those are his psoas muscles. So I like to point those out because they're referred to as your core. So a lot of people do core workouts in their abdomen, and now you can stop wondering what the heck your core is and what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I've just shown up to you. There are those two dark structures. And in Gabe's case, they're enormous. Gabe is a physically fit soldier officer and works out like a fiend. He is really and eats super healthy, and his MRI depicts it. Now, contrasting that to the image below is another friend who's got that I met, who incidentally did a lot of. He comes from Bangladesh and wants to return to Bangladesh to help out poor children. Where I know you spent some time in Bangladesh, so he unfortunately has acquired some disease since he came here to the United States, and now Ostef has a huge amount of fat. So you can see predominating in the image below is white, and it's because he has a large amount of subcutaneous fat, but even larger amount of visceral fat in the center part of the image. So Gabe, contrasting to also Gabe in image above, Asif has a very small amount of muscle. So if you look at his muscles, they're very tiny.
Y'all seeing that?
And the dark structures are small. Some of the other darker structures in the what I would describe as an ocean of visceral fat inside of Asif are his colon and his intestinal tract, so his GI system. But the really dark structures are his muscles. So there is an unfortunate condition called sarcopenic obesity, which is the degradation and loss of muscle mass and performance, combined with the accumulation of an obese state. And it's really an unfortunate state of humanity. Nassif is only 34 years old. So for somebody to be suffering sarcopenic obesity at such a young age is really unfortunate. But his MRI was sadly read as normal. So it's really unfortunate that
Y'all
this degree of pathology and glaring
they read this a normal
problem in his life is largely ignored.
There's nothing
by
normal
the
about
medical
this
profession because we're just not taught visceral fat in medical school. No medical school includes it in their curriculum, and that's part of my passion is to try to influence curriculum change in medical schools so that we become aware, teach doctors what is good and bad. So right now, the audience knowledge about visceral fat and reading MRIs now exceeds virtually every single physician in
That's a good
not
question,
only the United
Jasmine.
States but the world. So you now
No. Well, yeah, that's it. All the black, that's the muscle. All this white stuff in here, that's fat. You see all this fat inside the muscle here? There's no muscle, y'all. It's nothing but fat. This is what I was talking about when I was saying you don't want to be what you call sarcopenic. Sarcopenic obesity means that the fat infiltrate has eaten up the muscle. There's no muscle. And that's why you see a lot of older people end up on canes and walkers because they the fat, the visceral fat take over the muscles where they become sarcopenic. Sarcopenic means your muscles are eaten away. And that's why it's important for you to get into weight training and weight training is good for your bones and it's good for your skeletal muscle because that is what give you longevity, y'all. If you don't want to end up on a cane or a walker, we're not talking about an accident, but just over time growing old and ending up on a cane or walker, you want to get rid of this visceral fat because this visceral fat take over your muscles, okay? This is what you're seeing. You're seeing an MRI of a guy who has lost a lot of his muscles because of visceral fat. The visceral fat has taken over. All that white is visceral fat. Okay? That yes, that's more Jasmine said that's more fat than muscle. Yes, it is. And this did you hear what he said? This was read as normal, which means that most people this doctor see in America look like this. Okay? That's why I say you're gonna be different when you get your weight down and you get this visceral fat because fasting gets rid of it, y'all. When you get rid of this, you going to look younger, stronger, even if you didn't lift weights. Okay? Because you're getting rid of the visceral fat. Visceral fat make you look old and it ages you and it make you look frail and you are frail. Okay? So I'm telling you, you want to get rid of this stuff.
If you just saw and listened to this podcast, watching this, have more knowledge than the average than physicians across the United States, Australia, and the world with regard to visceral fat and what that looks like. So, congratulations. That's slide number 2, showing you what is good and bad.
Yep.
And let's take a look at
You right.
an important
That's
clinical
not
insight,
normal.
what
You
gets
right.
you good and what gets you bad. So here is a series of 6 MRI scans that were taken over a course of 35 weeks. And in the top left corner is scan number 1 at what we call week 0 at the beginning of this series of scans. This was done, funded by the National Science Foundation in our quest to reverse chronic disease. So we were studying visceral fat as a marker, biomarker, to help eliminate and eradicate chronic disease. So we were looking at a number of interventions to influence visceral fat and what causes it to increase, what causes it to decrease. And it was both fascinating and a lot of fun to do those studies. And this series points out, I think very effectively, one thing that is a major contribution of visceral fat, and that is processed foods. So I will set this scan up by saying I think this slide needs to be in every single health class across America in grade schools, junior high schools, and high schools and colleges, and every single physician's office to help patients be enlightened to the significant contribution processed foods plays within visceral fat. So between image.
Michelle said maybe they should have said it was common. Yes, that's true. It is common, but that doesn't make it right. It makes it wrong. That means majority of the people are eating processed food, like he said. This processed food and ultra processed food is what's causing this. Our ancestors didn't walk around with weak sarcopenic muscles and visceral fat. They didn't walk around looking like that. This didn't happen to man until man became all modern and having a sedentary lifestyle, sitting around eating this powderized, sugarized, crystallized, crystal meth type of food that we're having. I'm telling you, it's like a drug, like crystal meth. I'm telling you. Until we started eating this powderized stuff, until the invention of the the modern industrial invention that created this powderized flour and sugar, until we had that, we did not have this problem. Okay? This did not come until we started eating this. Your body don't know what this stuff is, so guess what it does? The liver pushes it out into the fat. Okay, where's your liver? Your liver is right here, right? It pushes it out into the fat cell and create visceral fat. And that's what he's talking about, okay?
1 in the top left and image 2, which is in the immediate right of it, is a period of 2 weeks. And you can see, even though if the audience has never gone to medical school, that the visceral fat has been reduced in 2 weeks. And what happened to reduce that visceral fat is this 68-year-old gentleman who is a high net worth individual, very wealthy, just cut out processed foods from his diet. So he wasn't eating any processed foods. And he goes from the second image to the third, which is the top right corner, and slightly increased because he was so impressed with having lost all that visceral fat in such a short period of time that he thought he had this down really good and he could return to eating a little bit of processed foods. But he was very impressed with how much visceral fat the amount of processed foods that he introduced between those two images caused him. And as a result, he became influenced by that enlightenment and seeing that in that MRI scan, that third scan. And he purposed to never eat any more processed foods. And you can see in the subsequent images from the bottom left corner across over the course of the remaining 35 weeks that he eliminated the majority of his visceral fat. And his abdomen actually took on a completely different shape. So the 68.
Okay, this is what he was saying, y'all. You see in the scan here, see the red? That's the visceral fat. He made the contrast red so you can see the difference, okay? In this scan, you see this where he started. He had all this visceral fat in here, okay? All that red. Then he stopped eating processed food. He went from 4.6 pounds down to 4.2 pounds of visceral fat. And you can see the difference between the two, right? See how he went down from there to here, okay? When he stopped eating processed food. But then he got a little lax and comfortable. Like how I said we shouldn't do over the holidays, get a little lax and comfortable. Okay, he went from 4.2 from week 2 to week 5 back up a little bit. So as you can see, when he added it back, it went back up again. Okay? And this proved to him, okay, I need to get focused and keep going. Because when all he did, he wasn't exercising or nothing. All he did was stop eating processed food. Okay? That's why I tell y'all, even before you start fasting, if you could just get off of the processed food first, that alone will set you up to win. That alone will set you up to change your taste buds first and be able to stick with this thing, and you will see some results even before you start getting into the fasting routine, okay? So that's all he did. So that's what he was saying. But then after that, he got serious, and you can see week 15 he went down. He got rid of more of it here. And then as you can see, the last scan, he barely have any red left. So he got rid of the visceral fat, okay? By week 35. Just from not eating processed food. That's the point.
Year old barrel-bellied dad bod type of physique that he had in the top left corner is replaced with an oval shape, kind of resembling what Gabe had as a good example of a healthy abdomen there. And he has reduced a lot of his visceral fat, but also, if unfortunately I don't have the ability to do a pointer here, but in the top left image, if you look at the sides of his muscles, kind of very close to the subcutaneous fat where the obliques are, you can see a little bit of a pink streak in the muscles, and that is fatty infiltration of the muscles. The technical term for that, if anybody would look it up on Google, is myosteatosis. Myo, M-Y-O, steatosis, S-T-E-A.
That's what he told you. See the pink streaks that's in the fat here? I mean, that's in the muscle. I'm trying to make it bigger where you can see. He talking about right here, y'all. If you see that muscle on the edge here, you'll see that pink streak here. That's fat inside the muscle, y'all. That's what I was talking about. Myosteatosis. That's what a lot of older people, not just older people, younger people, you see younger people getting all frail and weak too. Uh, that's when you have fat infiltrating the muscle, looks sort of like a ribeye steak. You know how ribeyes have all that fat infiltrate in the inside of it? You get that marveling on yourself when you're eating this processed food, which makes your muscles weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Okay, so that's what I was talking about, and that's called myosteatosis. Okay, he explains it better, but I wanted to make sure y'all did catch what he was saying. Don't miss that point. Okay, that's what we was talking about, Jasmine, when I said myosteatosis.
TOSIS. So this is, um, for the sake of those listening who don't have medical training, is the equivalent of human marbling. So steak you can buy, it has marbling in it that's evident on examination. We can see this marbling of muscles, human muscles, on MRIs, and we'll get into some better examples of it down the road. But I'll sum up this slide by saying this powerfully illustrates just how much improvement in visceral fat you will have if you
Mm-hmm.
simply cut out processed foods. And the second point I'll make about this is
So simple, but not
that
easy,
this amount
right?
of visceral fat was eliminated without any other intervention. So this guy only cut out processed foods. He did not exercise a single minute in 35 weeks. He refused to exercise. And as a researcher, that bothered me because we were trying to investigate the role of both exercise and processed foods elimination. But even though it was imperfect science, it resulted in better science because his refusal and the non-compliance of this particular patient in the study resulted in a really an important discovery of just how much significance processed foods plays in visceral fat. So for the audience,
Mm-hmm.
the take-home point is it is incredibly important for you to eliminate processed foods. It really does cause visceral fat, and eliminating it from your diet.
Mm-hmm.
We saw in 6,000 people that we studied the resolution and elimination of visceral fat when processed foods was eliminated. But this
Mm-hmm.
image is used. I shared a lot because it's the only example I have of somebody who did it without any other potential confounding factor, such as exercise. So nothing else was responsible that we could identify for the elimination of visceral fat in this person, other than his elimination of processed foods from his diet. All right.
Yes, see, I'm glad he's showing this, guys. So y'all can't just say, well, you know, Lady Tay exercise, so that's why Lady Tay, could look the way she looked. No, he's saying eliminating process of food alone will decrease your visceral fat tremendously just from cutting off of that. Okay? Exercise, yes, is important. You want to build strong muscles and you want, you know, for longevity, you want to build skeletal muscles. And we will be talking about that more in the future because I like to listen to Dr. Gabriel Lyon that wrote a book called Forever Strong and how she went through seeing people in nursing homes. She was a geriatric doctor. So she saw firsthand how people age with no skeletal muscle and how their life totally decreases because they have no muscle. So we will be talking more about that in the future, okay? But he's saying just eliminating processed food like I always keep preaching to y'all will totally get rid of this visceral fat, which means you'll be getting rid of this infiltration in your muscles as well. Okay? You don't want to look like a ribeye steak. You want to enjoy eating a ribeye steak, but you don't want to look like a ribeye steak, okay? Because muscles are weak. And when you have the fat inside of it like that, okay? Which he was talking about myosteatosis. And yes, I saw what you said, Michelle. Michelle said, yep, we thought the way we were brought up, we were deprived. We only had that garbage every now and then. Garbage every now and then. But we grew up and started getting it every day. That's right. So we started making our own money, getting it every day because we were big and bad enough to have the money, working a job to do it. But we're sitting at these jobs being sedentary, not exercising, sitting up there just gobbling this stuff down. That's what I did when I worked call center work from home when I had my own call center. And, it was making me where I was sitting there just munching all day long, stressed out on the phone all day trying to make sales on top of that. So you got stress going on. You got your cortisol level all high because you're trying to meet demands from your boss and trying to keep your sales quotas up or whatever you're doing, and having customers mad at you, cussing you out, and all this. So you have to deal with that, and you sitting up there just munching, munching, munching. And if you're an emotional eater like how I was, that made it worse. So I'm sitting up there drinking these energy drinks, trying to stay awake so I could stay on the phone call, to be stressed out all day, having customers yelling at me at the same time while my phone calls being monitored by my boss to make sure that I am crossing every T and dotting every I. Okay? So we're working these jobs that we hate because we're not in our purpose. And we're sitting here eating all this garbage because we're eating our emotions away because we are emotional people. Okay? Emotional eaters, stressed out. So your cortisol up, your insulin level up, you sitting in this chair and sedentary. So we're actually decreasing our lifespan by eating this garbage and working these jobs that we hate. You really are, when you think about it, we really are killing ourselves or unaliving ourselves by not getting into our purpose. Because once we get into our purpose and we realize what we really are supposed to do and be, that makes you become alive and wants to take care of yourself. And you will be doing something that you would love to do and be taking care of these bodies. So you see how all that works together? Y'all see how that all works together? This is why the enemy don't want y'all to know about this stuff. This is why the enemy been giving me all kind of warfare over the past month. There's been stuff I've been going through behind the scenes stress and had to take time from social media and fast and pray so that I can come back with my cup filled so I can overflow and help other people like I'm helping you guys with this information, because he don't want y'all to know about this. The food industry don't want y'all to know about this. Kellogg's don't want y'all to know about this. We talked about the food dyes, okay? The food dyes, the sugar, the flour, all that stuff is in the processed food that's causing all this visceral fat because it's causing cytokines that's causing inflammation. Y'all seeing this? Okay? So, yes, this is very important. I see Diane came into the room. Yes, I'm talking about purpose. Purpose. This visceral fat is causing us to be sick where we can't work in our purpose. Okay? Let's go
In
back.
this image, I'll pick this up so we don't take too much time to go through this. But this is a marathoner, and his image shows what we call a tophy. So he's thin on the outside, which is the yellow portion. There's not much subcutaneous fat, but he's fat on the inside, thin outside, fat inside. So all the red inside is visceral fat. And this is an individual who ran 8 to 10 marathons a year, very competitive, thought he was very healthy, but would carve out and exercise. And he would, by all outward appearance, look like he was fit and trim. He was thin, but inside he was harboring all this inflammatory, dangerous visceral fat inside of him. This was 5 years ago. I just bumped into him just 3 days ago. He is no longer running. He gave up running, and he is only a sprinter now. So it's been 5 years, and to get somebody to turn on a dime to give up distance running, serious marathoner, 10 marathons a year to become a sprinter takes some considerable degree of influence. And it was his MRI scan that did that. So I'm sharing that for the sake of the audience, and you too can have a significant insights into your body and what's going on if you get this MRI scan. And for the benefit of any physicians or providers out there watching this, that degree of influence is potentially available to your patients if they get an MRI scan. So I highly suggest MRI scanning to help patients draw insight and correct their lifestyle if they're filled with visceral fat. Now, on that point about sprinting and distance running, these two images nicely represent the change that happens to somebody who goes from distance running to sprinting. So in this case, it's a 58-year-old CEO of a company who, on the image on the left, has a lot of visceral fat. And the image on the right, he's eliminated that visceral fat. And the only thing he did in this 2 months period of time was he stopped running 10 miles a day that he did every day, 5 days a week, and he simply sprinted. So he substituted in distance sprinting for distance running. He no longer was doing any distance running, and sprinting became his methodology for cardiovascular health. And
Okay, guys, I want y'all to see this. Hey, Monica. Hey, my sister. Y'all, my sister Queen Monica is in the room. She worked so hard and going to school. She's able to come in tonight. So, hey, Monica. Y'all say hey to Monica, okay? Monica was here since the beginning. She was here with me when I was doing boxology building and everything with my little curvy world. But she's in the room, y'all. So say hello to her, okay? What he was saying here, y'all, as you can see in the diagram, you see the shape of this guy's belly. Okay, you can see it's kind of round, like most typical people. Okay, here back in 2017. uh, February 2017. You seeing this, Nisi? See how round his belly is? The muscles is in the inside, right? Okay. Look here. April, 2 months later. This man got a six pack. Y'all seeing this? He reduced it so much down to where he have all this visceral fat went away in the middle, where he's able to have a six pack here. All right, that at the top, that's a six pack. So that's somebody laying on their back. There's some MRI of somebody laying on their back. Okay, that's from him eliminating processed food, also getting into stop running marathons, which was causing really a lot of stress on his body and was causing him to keep the visceral fat along with processed food. And he just started doing short sprints instead. So the point is, a lot of the times when people be like, why my cousin who is so healthy, we thought, was running all these different marathons, why all of a sudden he just dropped dead? Because he was full of visceral fat because of eating processed foods. A lot of this food that they tell us, like these granola bars and all these different things in the grocery store, like I told y'all, like these lean cuisines and these kind bars and all these different bars that's in the grocery store that they tell you, oh, you can eat this, and it's called the diet food. Okay, you can find this in the area like the organic food section. Okay, That stuff is still processed food, y'all. And they just because they put on there heart healthy, this is healthy for you, you can eat this in moderation, just count your calories, and you can go to the exercise and run. They're running, causing all this inflammation in their body because they're eating processed food. And running causes stress, y'all, that we don't know about. Think about it. Our ancestors didn't just do marathon running. They only ran when they was running from a predator or they were running to catch a prey. They didn't run. If anything, the closest thing to what they did was sprinting. They sprint quickly to go catch something. That's it. Or they ran to get away from something. They didn't just go out all of a sudden and just did this 4 mile, 10 mile marathon every day. That's not normal. Okay? That's not normal. And the first thing we be thinking that they tell us that we should have to be able to do one day is to go running. But when you hear about people that ran long distance for long periods of time, they have shin splits and bunions and all kinds of joint pains, you know. I have a relative that now used to do a lot of running, and now she can't run like she used to because she have bad joints, bad knee joints. We're not designed to run for long periods of time like that all the time, okay? So that's why you hear about marathon runners just dropping dead because they're still eating this processed garbage, and they may look thin on the outside, like he said that tofu was. Remember the tofu one where it was thin on the outside and fat on the inside? Okay, that's what they look like. That's what they look like, y'all. Right here. I was just on it. Right here. Remember?
He ran 8
This
to 10
one right here?
marathons a year, very competitive.
This right
Body
here,
was
that's a
very
tofu.
healthy.
See all
But
the fat
with
on the
carb
inside?
out and exercise,
I mean,
and he
the
would,
visceral
by
fat on the
all outward
inside and thin on the
appearance, look
outside?
like he was
That's a
fit and
tofu.
trim. He was thin.
That's
But
most marathon runners. They look like they're healthy, but on the inside, they're full of this visceral fat, which is lethal, giving out all these cytokine chemicals that's causing inflammation in their organs and all of that. And they have heart disease and all this stuff coming from that. And you be like, why all of a sudden this person that seems so healthy just dropped dead? You know, a lot of people say that about these athletes. You hear about these athletes, the marathon runners, Wilma Rudolph, and all these people that just, you know, die young. They have visceral fat. They're like this. They have visceral fat on the inside because we're taught to still eat these granolas and all this stuff in moderation. Just count your calories and go run. That's not normal, y'all. So now I hope you're getting some aha moments that we have to try to get close to what our ancestors were if we want longevity. They did not eat ultra processed food, they ate real food, meat, vegetables, some fruits seasonally, because they ate the fruits more when the time when it was getting closer to harvest, when it was harvest time and it did bloom, and they were eating more so that they can get through the winter months where they couldn't hunt. Remember I talked about that? And they only sprinted when they were catching a beast to eat, or they were running from a beast, a predator, to be safe. But they didn't run all day. And they walked a lot, y'all. So if you get into walking, get into, if you want to sprint like what he's saying, once you get your weight down, you can, get your weight down, keep doing the fasting and everything, like how I'm teaching you guys to do, and get off of processed food. Reduce your weight down where you don't have all these joint pains and ankle pains and knee pains, okay? And then if you want to in the future get into a little bit of sprinting, you can do, like little short sprints on the treadmill and resistant training like how I do, okay? Because our ancestors were strong. They had to be able to carry those beasts when they caught them, okay? They had to be able to use the tools, okay? They used the tools to be able to, cut into them and stuff. So, be able to climb mountains, all right? So now I hope you finally realizing what he's saying, what I've been teaching, okay?
Inside, he was harboring all this inflammatory, dangerous visceral fat inside of him. This was 5 years ago. I just bumped into him just 3 days ago. He is no longer running. He gave up running, and he is only a sprinter now. So it's been 5 years, and to get somebody to turn on a dime to give up distance running, serious marathoner, 10 marathons a year to become a sprinter, takes some considerable degree of influence. And it was his MRI scan that did that. So I'm sharing that for the sake of the audience, and you too can have a significant insights into your body and what's going on if you get this MRI scan. And for the benefit of any physicians or providers out there watching this, that degree of influence is potentially available to your patients if they get an MRI scan. So I highly suggest MRI scanning to help patients draw insight and correct their lifestyle if they're filled with visceral fat. Now, on that point about sprinting and distance running, these two images nicely represent the change that happens to somebody who goes from distance running to sprinting. So in this case, it's a 58-year-old CEO of a company who, on the image on the left, has a lot of visceral fat. In the image on the right, he's eliminated that visceral fat. And the only thing he did in this 2 months period of time was he stopped running 10 miles a day that he did every day, 5 days a week. And he simply sprinted. So he substituted in distance sprinting for distance running. He no longer was doing any distance running, and sprinting became his methodology for cardiovascular health. And he didn't have any dietary changes. Nothing else changed in his life. He simply stopped running and started sprinting, and he developed a six-pack, and his muscles became enlarged. So
That's
much so that
amazing,
the
y'all.
MRI tech came very excited back into my scanner and said, "This guy's now jacked." And I had to be concerned that he was taking steroids. And I, in fact, asked this 58-year-old if he had started using performance enhancing drugs, because this is back in 2017, and I yet wasn't familiar. I hadn't seen enough scans to see how much sprinting improves the musculature of a human being and eliminates visceral fat. But we've seen this time and time again when sprinting is added into individuals, that it improves eliminating their visceral fat and gross muscle. So it's now one of my planks and chief strategies for my clients that work with me to biologically optimize, is that I get them all sprinting and work very hard to do so. So that's a good example. And the same thing would happen to you if you're listening and you're a distance runner. If you start sprinting, you'll eliminate your visceral fat better. There's something about, Anthony, visceral fat and sprinting or rather distance running. I don't think it causes visceral fat, but it appears to make it refractory to elimination. So it just
distance running
static.
makes it hard to get rid of visceral
the
fat.
body more, and it may have something to do with the fact that when you do distance running, evolutionarily, we would draw on our fat reserves to do distance running. So when we eat, it just tends to maintain that supply of visceral fat for the purpose of helping serious runners. So I've yet to see a distance runner that didn't have a large amount of visceral fat inside of them. So I'm always open to the exception. I didn't get a huge amount of distance runners, but those that I did and scanned had large amounts of visceral fat. And every sprinter I found had very little amounts of visceral fat. So we'll take a look at that example now. The image in the bottom left corner is a sprinter, and he, in fact, is an Olympic sprinter. So, first of all, the audience should note that mostly he's dark. That is, all the dark structures are muscles that you can see. His gastrointestinal tract is between those two big circles in the middle and the two oblong, kind of egg-like shaped things on the top of his image with a little crevice there, V-shaped dark crevice. That's this belly button on the top part of his abdomen, and he's laying, yeah, and he's laying on his back. So if you look at his muscles, there's no white streaks in him. So he's just pure muscle.
Y'all seeing
There's
that?
no fatty deposition
No
within those
fat
muscles.
in the
Marbling
muscles.
radiographically,
That's what you want to look like.
image is singularly the most healthy abdomen I've ever seen in my medical career. You can follow this guy. He's an Olympic sprinter to this date, at Matadi, M-A-T-A-D-I, at Matadi, M-A-T-A-D-I, Instagram. Shout out to him. So fantastic. Eternally grateful for this guy coming in and getting scanned so that we could see this enormously healthy individual. Now, we scanned through his legs at the same time, and what we noticed was he had very pure muscles in his legs. They're very he had, although the image does not show it, he had very large legs. They're just not proportioned
right
compared to the image on the top. Who's the guy at the top? His legs are actually smaller, and if you look, all the white streaks in the image at the top is human marbling. So for those listening, if
you
you're
see
wondering
all that
what
marbling
your legs
of
would look
fat
like, you
in
probably
that
would have
those
human
legs.
marbling in there if you've
You don't
been
want that.
consuming a diet of carbohydrates at any point in your life. These streaks tend to persist for some time, and so even people that are carnivore for a period of time still have these, albeit they are starting to go away. The deposition of myosteatosis, or fatty infiltrates within the muscles, is a very slow and enduring process. So its resolution is equally slow, and so people are oftentimes disappointed at how hard it is to get out. But the cheap plank for that, again, is I get my clients eating carnivore and sprinting, and actually I have them doing 47 things to expedite the rest.
You hearing that? Eating more real food like carnivore, just eliminating, like I said, eliminating all this processed foods and those carbs, those complex carbs, those wheat and gluten and all that stuff. Just getting rid of that, okay? Just eating meat and vegetables and nuts and beans and fruits. Just eating that, but not much the fruits, like I said, will help you eliminate those marbling in your muscles, okay? And the visceral fat. So that's what he's saying here.
Solution of visceral fat. And that image in the top left of the abdomen shows an enormous amount of visceral fat. And the purpose of this scan is actually to compare the amount of visceral fat present on an abdominal scan with the amount of fat myosteatosis within an MRI scan of the legs. So, excuse me, within the images, you can see that fat is dangerous fat is pretty consistent throughout the body, and you can look for fingerprints of disease if you look appropriately, particularly in the connection of fatty infiltrates of the leg muscles with visceral fat in the abdomen. So I put that word normal up there because all these scans were read as normal. And so what I want to suggest to your audience, Anthony, and to you as well.
You hear that, Jasmine?
That we need to change the discussion
normal.
about
There they go with that again.
and the curriculum in medical schools to not call these normal, because this is like bricks and clouds. These two guys are completely different. One
Very
guy is on the
different.
verge of potentially having a heart attack any moment because the amount of visceral
You
fat
see that?
evident there is likely influenced his arteries to such an extent he's probably rife with atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, and the individual below.
You heard what he said? This one here is so full of visceral fat that he is on the verge of having a heart attack, y'all. He's on the verge of having a heart attack or a stroke. But then they have the nerve to say this is normal. There ain't nothing normal about this. It makes you wonder how many times they have noticed this when you would go to the doctor, or you don't have scans and all this stuff, and they didn't tell you about this. They didn't tell you that you're full of visceral fat like this. Okay? You could prevent a heart attack if you knew this information. That's why it says, the scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Okay? This knowledge could save your life. Somebody could be on the verge of a heart attack right now if they just knew this information right now. Just knew this information and noticed that their waist circumference is large. They say, even if you can't afford an MRI, just your waist circumference, okay, will tell you, I need to do something. Having this knowledge can help somebody be able to not have a heart attack or a stroke, like he said.
The sprinter couldn't be further from that disease process and chronic disease in general. So it's a crime, in my opinion, that this isn't being taught in medical school, and that these scans are being done all day long, millions of them around the globe, and nobody reads this. Everybody reads them as normal instead of having a conversation with the guy at the top.
It is a crime.
Dude, if you don't turn this around, your quality of life is going to continue to suck, and you're going to deteriorate the quality of your life incrementally and increasingly for the remainder of your life, which appears to be not long unless you turn things around. And then the conversation, the guy in the bottom says, help me to be more like you. Tell me how you live, because this is how I want to look. Pat the guy in the back, shake his hands, and congratulate him. And these images need to be taught in medical school.
Yes.
And they should be shown in health school, I think, health classes as well. So even on a fundamental level,
yep.
Kids
health
are
coaches.
exposed to what health looks like inside the body. And we have conversations where people get educated about these kind of things instead of keeping it within the esoteric realm of physicians who have to interpret this stuff. It's not that hard, and I think the audience has got a good idea just in these short scans that we've gone through. All right, let's pick this up. This is the sprinter. This is how good he looks. He developed all these muscles without lifting weights too, Anthony. He didn't lift weights at the time of this photograph and the scan. He wasn't lifting weights, didn't do push-ups and pull-ups. He was a one-trick pony. He simply was a sprinter. So 2 points on this. If you don't have a lot of visceral fat and you sprint, you put on muscle like crazy. Visceral fat impairs your capacity for muscle gains and I'll get into that in a few other slides. But the other point is he because he wasn't lifting, it allows us to see the influence of sprinting on the human body without the potential confounding effects of lifting weights and doing other things. So you would never get a build like this simply doing distance running. And if the audience now, reflect on what a chronic, a senior marathoner, person who does a lot of marathons, would look like, say, after doing 30 years of marathons, they won't look like this. So
I've never seen one look like that.
I try to throw some caution, if not overt warning about distance running because of its inclination to build slow twitch muscles and atrophy fast twitch muscles and resulting in sarcopenia. So I, for one, am a 60-year-old guy who's completely eliminated distance running and I only sprint. All right, so the image at the top of those
Look at
abdominal
this, y'all.
scans were so bad with a lot of visceral fat. The image on the left there is a picture of that belly at the time that MRI scan was done. So this is a client. He's got a typical dad bod, 63 years old. And then 5 months later, he's after doing the strategies that we developed for the National Science Foundation to eliminate visceral fat, he lost a large portion of that dad bod, and in fact, he fathered a baby with his wife because his wife was younger than he was. They ended up having a baby, which was great. He increased his fertility that much. Now here's a couple
Something to
images
think
of
about.
steaks that cost me
Infertility,
$56 to
visceral
put this
fat,
slide
maybe.
together. Cost me a lot of money. The steak on the left I ate. The steak on the right I threw away. I think they're ribeyes, and they show various degrees of marbling. The steak on the left has no marbling because it's 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, and has a very minimal amount of myosteatosis or fatty infiltrates of the skeletal muscle there. The image on the right is fed a lot of carbohydrates, and although it's marketed as a tasty, wonderful, desirable steak, I don't have my clients eating this kind of steak because it's in my opinion, diseased animal.
Y'all see all that fat in that
That's not
steak?
a qualified opinion.
That's
I'm
how
not
we
a
look when we
veterinarian,
eat
but
visceral.
I do
When
have
we
a
eat too much
veterinarian client now
carbs.
who agrees with me that
Garbage.
is diseased in a cow. And I've assured him that
All that fat in the muscle.
disease within a human being, notwithstanding the fact that all physicians seemingly in America don't understand that, or I should say the vast majority of them. But interesting, Anthony, just in the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks, artificial intelligence discovered that, and there's a study now on it, that this myosteatosis within human skeletal muscle doubles the mortality risk from cardiovascular disease.
Wow.
So we really should be, and as a profession, warning people about the increased risk of these fatty infiltrates that are completely ignored. And my best friend is an orthopedic surgeon, and I just was shocked to find out that orthopedic surgeons look at CT scans and MRIs that equally show these fatty infiltrates within the muscles, and they just ignore them. And it's linear, its relationship to disease. So the more of these fatty infiltrates, the more disease subsequently people end up acquiring, and the fewer amount of fat infiltrating the muscles, the less amount of disease you get. So MRI should be done, in my opinion, routinely to look at skeletal muscle and visceral fat for the purposes of eradicating disease. All right, now
look at this, y'all.
We
this
see
the fat around the
lung
heart
fields. Okay, so this is a chest. In between the right and left lungs, which are those dark oblong structures, is another mass, and that's your heart. So your heart lies between your lungs, and then the white area, kind of a clam-shaped thing around the heart there, is fat surrounding the heart, cardial fat.
Cardio fat. Y'all seeing
fat
this?
is inflammatory fat like visceral fat. It has its influence, interestingly,
Inflammatory
directly on the
fat
coronary
around
arteries,
the heart.
which are on the outside of the heart, and where a coronary artery dives down into the heart muscle and therefore is not approximated up against cardial fat, it's spared atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease in that particular segment. So the rest of the artery will have some amount of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, varying amounts, but where it dives down in the muscle and doesn't have exposure to that chunk of fat around it, it doesn't have disease. So my practice, I work to eliminate visceral fat, fatty muscle infiltrates, and heart fat, cardial fat, and all the strategies work together equally. Interesting. So in this time period, it's just 13 weeks.
Y'all seeing that fat around the heart there? It's releasing inflammatory substance around the heart, y'all. I'm telling you, you don't want that. And that comes from eating processed foods, y'all. Okay? So I'm sorry that came up. I don't know what that is. So that's what he's talking about here. This is the fat around the heart.
And you see that streak of fat, chunk of fat around the heart has been reversed in 13 weeks. And this is the 68-year-old guy that just cut out processed foods and went and exercised 1 minute. So again, cutting out processed foods, what we saw time and time again in thousands of people reduce this heart fat, visceral fat, and
Processed food.
that the audience,
And then that other one
really
was once
getting
he
an
stopped
interest in these
eating
scans and
processed
why
food.
you want to cut out processed foods, especially. Now, this is my favorite scan of all. It shows arteries in the brain. So the dark areas
Look at this,
where
y'all.
there's good blood
This
flow.
in the brain.
And if you look at the circle in the image on the left where there's a circle, you'll see there's no darkness in there. And what it is, the MRI has the ability to differentiate blood from brain parenchyma, just because of its different density and magnetic fields are what are responsible for the image production here. But in that circle region, I circle it because of the absence of blood flow there. So that is an atherosclerotic cardiovascular plaque. So a large amount of disease in that particular segment of that particular artery, which is the middle cerebral artery on the right there, is a big plaque. And if you look on the MCA, the middle cerebral artery on the left side, it gets kind of hazy towards the distal portion, the further out part of that artery. And that's because there's another plaque there that's kind of obstructing the blood, but not as much as it is in the circled region. Now, in the image on the right, where I've circled again, it's been restored.
Y'all seeing that?
The point is, one, this restoration is possible using the same principles that we developed for the National Science Foundation, which I've also pinned in my Instagram account.
This man is avoiding a stroke here.
Page pinned to the top are these strategies, and doing them opened up this lesion in just 9 months. So what's really interesting is that we just aren't taught this in medical school. I mean,
I told y'all they don't teach this in medical school.
These lesions, you got to stent or do angioplasty, and you as a neurosurgeon know the risk of trying to stent and do an angioplasty and the circle willis of middle cerebral artery is fraught with a lot of complication, because that would require you to jump in a real hurry to try to go through it, and that would be a real mess to try to access all that. So we don't even stent and balloon open these things. The physicians who treat these just give them statins. And as your audience might wonder how effective that is, it's not. It does not open up these lesions at all. But if you simply live right, appropriately, like eat meat, eat some fermented foods, and exercise intensely, like sprinting and cold showers and saunas and the like, and the other things I have pinned in my Instagram account, you can open up those kind of lesions. But it doesn't just open up one single lesion. Those strategies improve your entire body. So lesions all over your body, to include your capillary bed. So if you got a big plaque like that in your artery, you're going to have those kind of lesions in your capillaries, where all the magic happens. How your cells are fed and get oxygenated. All that occurs at the level of capillaries, and you'll have disease there. So it is not an improvement. It's not in isolation. That tends to be how we operate in conventional healthcare. We go after one particular thing and treat it. But when it comes to changing your life, you change your body. So as you change your lifestyle, you improve all your cells, all your tissues. And so what we would routinely see in these people is as their arterial system opens up from eliminating atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, is the arteries start behaving more in a healthy manner. And we saw the onset of a very interesting manifestation that I call visible pulses. So your pulses become visible. So you don't take a pulse by feeling it, you just look at it. You can see it, visibly pulsating in front of you. And the degree to which it is visibly apparent and how much it's pulsating in front of you, the magnitude of it, is in direct proportion to how healthy you are. So a very
Mm-hmm.
small pulsing artery means some improvement, some level of health, but a massive flash of improvement of the artery suggests a more optimal state of arterial health and perfusion. So when that blood flow improves, look
Look
at
at him, y'all.
the enormous change that happens to the tissues. So the image on the left is my face as I appeared at the age of 48. I weighed 165 pounds and I was filled with visceral fat. I don't have a scan to show it at that time, but that's how
Look how
bad I look.
puffy
And I
his
look like
face
the
is.
average American. But then look at the image on the right, which shows the elimination of visceral fat and the dramatic impact that that had on my face. And it's really all over my body, but I just have that picture in my face. And that is me 10 years later. And I actually weigh more in that image on the right. So a lot of people think, well, I was just maybe a fat guy on the left. But no, the truth is I was a disease guy with a lot of visceral fat. And that's what happens when you improve blood flow. You would change your appearance all over your body. And I like to say that our faces express our health. So we reveal how healthy we are by the appearance of our face. So if you're seeing this and you're kind of shocked at those differences of those photos, I would suggest that you break out your old photographs and start looking at how you looked 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago and see how your image has changed during that time. And one other interesting one that I'll talk about will be noses, but another image is this abdomen, how it's sticking out. And I want to explain what goes on there and how visceral fat has a role in that. So this guy is a
Y'all
typical
seen this
American
before?
dad bod that sticks out like this, and people are becoming increasingly used to and sadly tolerant of. And even worse, some people are oddly attracted to that. And I have interesting theories why that might be the case. But this is a friend of mine who's got a bit of a dad bod. He deployed with me to the Middle East and the Army, and he's got a protuberant abdomen that is an impending dad bod, I'd like to say, and that might be your case if you're looking today. But let's take a look at these images here that are of me that I accidentally took the one me standing up on the left. And it's not attractive. If you're looking at that, some of you might be saying, oh God, I hope I never look like that. And you would be correct in saying that because that is not a healthy look. My abdomen is protruding there. If you look at that image with the shorter pants, sticking out anteriorly.
Yes, it is, Jasmine, a hormone belly. Visceral fat.
Bod developing there. But if you look at my frame,
but look at his frame here. Look at his whole frame.
To the left, with a kind of funny S-shaped spine.
Look at his spine.
People walking around a lot. Usually they're older.
And his stomach's bulging out.
Almost always when they do have that kind of figure, they'll have a tummy on them, a protruding belly sticking out, evidencing visceral fat.
It even changes how you you stand
on their tissues, and it causes that gradual decline and atrophy of the muscles, in particular the erector spinae muscles, to help you stay erect. And so as I eliminated my visceral fat, look at my image on the right, and largely what happened here is I went carnivore. So between the two images, the predominant change responsible
exactly
is I went carnivore,
because of the muscle mass,
fat even more. But my
full of fat
actually in the image on the left was already really low. I don't have that particular scan available, but I don't really have any visceral fat in that image. I just have the influence of visceral fat. So visceral fat degrades muscles.
It degrades muscles here,
and the fascia, ligaments, everything to weaken. And so I just can't hold my guts in anymore. So if you got a dad bod where your belly is sticking out like that, it's because the muscles in your abdomen are so weak they can't hold your guts in anymore. So if I take a 17-year-old, I have a 17-year-old son, and I take all the amount of visceral fat that this guy has in his abdomen, put in my 17-year-old son's abdomen, his abdomen will be nice and straight, flat. It's the exposure over time to those inflammatory molecules that this guy has carried around in the form of visceral fat for a long time that's degraded those muscles and his fascia and allows that belly to stick out. So if you're listening today and you have a flat abdomen, you it's because you haven't yet succumbed to the influence of visceral fat. But if you're young and you're eating carbohydrates and processed foods, and you are maybe stressed out, you're drinking alcohol, you're not sleeping, you're doing distance exercise, then you run the risk of getting an abdomen like this. And this shouldn't be called the dad bod. It should be called the weak bod, because this guy's weak all over from the influence of visceral fat. And Alex here is starting to get some weakness with his belly, and Sean had some weaknesses, his belly, and then look, Sean corrected by getting rid of my visceral fat, and then doing these strategies allowed the improvement. So my posture is improved. I stand up straight. The shape of my head improved. The appearance, I became. Look at the veins on my hands from the vascular changes, improvement in my vascularity from those strategies, and visceral fats, lack of influence. Has this systemic improvement over the entire body. So as my face improved, so did my body. So here's a very interesting point. Now look at this these faces. We talked about this last time, Anthony. These three faces, fascinating photograph. The time period, if you're looking at it for the first time and you don't know, I want you to think about how long is the time period between these two photographs. And most people guess somewhere between 3 months and 6 months to change the face that much. But the truth is, the time difference between these photographs is only 3 days. And so what happened is, this is a 40-year-old client of mine named Daniel, who
3-day fast,
who fasted, went on an extended fast for the first time in his life, 72 hours. So he had this significant change in his face. So I had to ask, as a researcher, how could he add that much change to his face in just 3 days? If you took a 60-year-old average male or female and fasted them a week or even 2 weeks, they wouldn't have this much change in their face. And the reason is, in my opinion, we need to do studies more on that, is the absence of visceral fat and this fasting exercise allowed Daniel to get this profound benefit. So visceral fat acts as a governor, an impedance, obstructing the beneficial stimulus that happens to a human body that we get exposed to through hormesis. So some kind of a stressful stimulus, like lifting weights, is a hormetic stimulus that it damages an organism, from which the organism responds with recovery and improvement through hypertrophy. So Daniel damaged his body by fasting. He recovered, and he had this improvement, and it happened in just 3 days period of time, because Daniel didn't have as much visceral fat. So the take-home point is, if you don't have as much visceral fat, you get much more benefit when you get exposed to hormetic stimulus, hormetic responses. So cold showers, saunas, fasting, exercising, sprinting, lifting weights, that all gives you more benefit if you have less visceral fat. Now,
saunas, cold showers, if you can stand that. I don't think that would be one I would do. Fasting, cold showers, saunas. I go to a sauna at my gym when I get a chance, but a lot of times I don't. So I would sit outside in the sun, and people would look at me like I'm crazy because I would do that. But it's a reason why I would do that, okay? He talks about that. Nitrous oxide, okay? You get a hormesis is a good stress. See, we have the bad stress from these jobs we hate, and sitting there and eating junk food, okay, and giving causing your body stress when you have inflammation from eating this processed food, okay. But there's good stress you want to have, which is called hormesis. You get from saunas, showers, uh, cold showers if you can stand it, um, fasting, sprinting if once you can do that, if you want to do that, and lifting weights. Okay, this is good stress on your body that helps you eliminate visceral fat and build strong muscles. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. And I want to show you guys something. Okay, he got to the point on this. We can watch the rest of this another day. I don't want to hold you guys too much, but he got to the point on here. So I'm going to show you guys some pictures. Just like he showed you his pictures, I'm going to show you mine. Okay? And I know a lot of y'all seen this already, but this is me here. This is me here with the visceral fat. Okay? I was not just big, but I had visceral fat as well. As you can see from my face was inflamed here. I wore glasses here too. You saw in his before picture when he had visceral fat, he also wore glasses too, okay? So you can see the influence of visceral fat on my face. It's not just because I'm a big woman. I had visceral fat too, okay? So you can see that in me now. You can see, the influence of the visceral fat is gone. And I want to show you live now, me, where he was talking about the muscles. Where you can see the pulsation of the, let me show you right quick. Okay, he was talking about you can see once you get rid of the visceral fat, you can see the blood flow better, and your veins, your blood flow, you can see that better. Okay, let me show you something. This should be a close enough view. All right, as y'all can see, I'm showing you my arms, my forearms, and my hands. Okay, this is not just from me losing weight, because before I even started lifting weights, y'all, I started seeing this vascularity in my hands and in my arms. When you get rid of visceral fat, you can see it more. So as you continue to fast and you get rid of processed food and you get rid of your visceral fat, you will be able to see the vascularity in your arms. This not just from lifting weights. I had this before I lifted weights, y'all. I'm not talking about the muscle. I'm talking about the veins, the arteries. You can see the pulsating arteries. That comes from getting rid of visceral fat, y'all. Okay? When I sit out in the sun or in the sauna, like he said, they literally pop up even bigger, and you can actually see the blood flow. And people think that just come from weightlifting. I had that before I lifted weights. That comes from that comes as proof that you got rid of most of your visceral fat and you got more blood flow going through your body. It shows on your arms, and it shows on your legs, and eventually your stomach, okay, as you get rid of the visceral fat. But guess what? That's also happening in your organs. That's also happening in your around your heart. You're getting rid of that fat around your heart. These people are dropping dead because they have fat around their heart, y'all, from this visceral fat. These people are getting strokes. See, they lying telling you you get a stroke from eating red meat and fat. No, you getting strokes because you're eating this process ultra processed food, and it's causing you to get visceral fat and fat around your organs, that's causing diabetes and heart disease. I read that to y'all before we even started the video. Visceral fat causes that. And what causes visceral fat? We just watched it in the video. What causes visceral fat is ultra processed food, y'all. So,
Hold you and have them work out and put on muscle like an 8-year-old. What would that look like? Right here. This
y'all
is what
see
happened
that?
to me. This is me, age 55. I don't have visceral fat. And so now when I'm lifting weights, look at the huge muscle growth I get. Now, you might think, well, maybe I lift some weights like crazy. I only lift weights on average about 20 minutes every 2 to 3 days. I barely work out. And I'm getting this kind of muscle growth? Okay. Liver king, steroids,
Yeah.
testosterone replacement, human growth hormone. I promise you, on my reputation, the rest of my
He
life,
telling the truth, y'all.
nothing but nature.
He telling the
Meat,
truth.
ferments, sprinting, sauna, cold plunge, all natural stuff. If you're taking exogenous substances,
That's what's happening
here's
to
my
me.
opinion. I know some people may not like it. You are taking a shortcut on life because you just don't want to work out as much. I am not going to deprive myself, and I don't want my clients to deprive themselves of getting a better response by using some exogenous substance. Now, I know some people need to have testosterone replacement because maybe they have testicular cancer and they don't have the capacity to make those testosterone. But you should not be using supplements to try to get results that you should be getting just because you don't know about the influence of visceral fat. Get that out so that your body responds. So I went from a pretty scrawny 55-year-old guy, I wasn't too scrawny, to much more muscular development in these 5-year period of time from age 55 to 59. And I turned 60 in 2 days. So
Wow.
I think how to bring an
He
example.
look good.
An
He's
illustration
60
of how
years old,
you
don't
get
he?
rid of that visceral fat, and then your body starts responding. So yeah,
I
think
don't know
in the
many
future, we're gonna
60-year-olds
see,
that look like that.
65-year-old guys getting jacked and getting strong, and 70-year-old guys. And I'll go so far to say that in the future, your best professional athletes are going to be guys in their 60s. Why? Because I know it's laughable, right? You're going to get rid of that visceral fat, and they're going to have decades of playing this game.
Yeah.
And they're just going to destroy the young guys. The only reason why we don't see now is they're all rife with visceral fat. So they get injured
Yes,
faster,
he does
and
look
they
great.
just don't get the same
He
response.
does look young.
But
He
if you
is
eliminate
young.
that visceral fat, so that the
You see
stimulus
how old
is
he
there
look
to
when
the
he's in
body
his
for it to
40s?
improve, you're going to see old men and women, professional athletes, into their 60s playing the sport, and probably even in
That's
their
how I'm
70s,
gonna look when I'm in my
and playing it
60s.
awesome. And I think in the past, that's how our
That's how
ancestors
y'all
were.
gonna look too.
They
Y'all
were
follow
just
this
killer
advice.
high performers because they didn't have visceral fat, because they were living ancestrally a lot better. So here's just a real fast picture. Visceral fat, 3 months.
Now I know y'all
going
can see the
carnivore,
difference there.
Having ferments, elimination of that dad bod in such
You
a short
see
period
that,
of
don't you,
time.
Michelle?
And then the MRI scans, large amount of visceral fat, and in 3 months, greatly diminished heart fat, and in 3 months, greatly diminished. So MRIs allow us to see these interesting biomarkers. And the strategy, again, I'm happy to report.
Oh, you didn't?
Start with eliminating carbohydrates, processed foods, eating a meat-centered diet, and then I also promote the optimization of the microbiome by eating fermented foods, but no vegetables unless they've been fermented, to eliminate the plant toxins that I think are real and are really warrant humans to consider eliminating from their diet. It may not be for everybody, but I'll tell you, as a health and performance optimizing physician who's motivated to try to increase the level of health and the performance of my clients, that's what I do. I get them to eliminate visceral fat by eating a carnivore diet with fermented foods.
So
So anyway,
Michelle,
those
with
are
your case, since you were vegetarian, you better start eating them eggs. Eat lots of eggs, okay? Eat lots of eggs and eat fermented vegetables. Get into ferments, okay? Uh, Kimchi and sauerkraut, stuff like that. Just look into getting more into eating more fermented vegetables too, along with your eggs, okay? You might get tired of eggs, but look, you're gonna have to find some creative ways to make some dishes with eggs. Some delicious omelets, Southwest omelets, all kinds of recipes. You're gonna have to get into that, girl, because you have to make sure you're getting your protein, okay? Your protein is the important building blocks for your muscles, okay? Your muscles need protein. If you're not feeding your muscles will not grow to be strong, okay? And that's where a lot of people go wrong in the vegan and vegetarian community, and that's why a lot of them you see a lot of uh I know. I just bought a couple of boxes of eggs too, but hey, I gotta eat them. That's my. I look at it like this because I don't eat because I'm not buying garbage anymore. I'm still saving money. Okay, when I looked at my the price of my grocery bill back when I was buying garbage like chips and Oreos and filling my cart full of frozen food section because I was too lazy to cook, so I was just throwing lasagnas in the oven and all that stuff. When I look at my the cost of my groceries, I was spending like $300 every 2 weeks on groceries because I was buying garbage. It still was eating out, okay? Still was eating junk food. Still was eating out at this different restaurants because when you eating like that, you're always tired. So you always try to find a shortcut to not have to cook, okay? So I was spending more money when I was buying that stuff. But over time, if you really sit down and be a good steward, because we're supposed to be good steward over the king's money as queens, kingdom queens. The king is God. God allows us to make an income. Okay? We have to be good steward over the king's money. If we sit down and we take a look at how much we're spending on quality food, you're fasting more, so you're not eating 3 meals a day, okay? So you're only eating maybe 1 meal a day, all right? Or maybe 2 meals a day at the most. You save money, okay? So don't look at the cost of how much it is at the grocery store. Look at the long term of how much you save in the end. Yes, you might spend more than you think in the beginning, but when you look at it over a span of time, you're saving money. Okay? So look at it like that. And Jasmine will vouch to that. She said that she looked at her account and realized she had money. She never used to be able to save money like that. But when she stopped eating all that and she started fasting more, that's money you're not spending on food. Okay? Trust me. You will be able to save money and feel healthier when you actually have extra money to put aside so that when you start getting those ideas, you'll have some money to invest in those ideas, okay? All right, how you think I was able to buy equipment? How you think I was able to do those things? How you think I was able to pay for the expenses of editing a book and all that stuff. It's because I'm saving so much money because I'm not spending all my money on garbage. Okay, so you will save money.
Those are my markers. I want to be able to share with you and hopefully get you excited about visceral
And it
fat
is high, I
and
know.
the contributions it can have in your own patients and your followers and your
But I thank
podcast.
God for the
And
meds.
I hope that people learn about it and go back to their doctors and start asking about it and getting this. You can pull up your old CTs if you have an old CT, and I'll just show it real quick so that people have an idea. Um, of a CT scan. It's a little different. The colors, visceral fat shows up, but instead of white, it's black. So if you've ever had a abdominal CT, you can ask to see your abdominal CT. Don't look at the report. I mean, you can look at the report for a laugh. They won't put visceral fat in there. It's the largest organ inside the body,
Because
Mm.
they
inside your
don't know
tongue.
what
That means
visceral fat
visceral
look
fat,
like.
and they don't even comment on it. So it's black here, and you can see it. And in your patients, if you're a physician today,
It's
you
really
can pull it
sad.
up. And if they don't have much visceral fat, and they haven't had much visceral fat for a long time, they're not going to have a lot of pathology. They'll be your healthiest patients. And the opposite, if they've had a lot of visceral fat for a long period of time, they'll be train wrecks. They'll have all the codes for all the diagnoses that they've suffered a long period of time from that out of control visceral fat. So there's a quick primer on how to read an abdominal CT for your followers. And now, honest to God, if you're listening today, you know more about visceral fat than any physician probably in your country.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
it's
I
not taught
hope
in
y'all
medical school,
learning.
and
You know more than your
something's
doctors
going on
now.
in Australia. I've got 2 or 3 physicians
They
now
don't
interested
teach them
in
this in
visceral
medical
fat,
school.
and so I'm excited to share as an American physician these biomarkers with you guys in Australia.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. That was absolutely amazing. I was just thinking, about some of the things in your presentation, like
Oh,
that
hey,
picture
Nina.
of yourself before and after.
How
I
you doing,
legitimately did
Queen?
not think that that was the same person. I thought you were showing two pictures of like you and like one of your research partners or something like that. And you were going to go in and talk about that, and then you were talking about. I was like, oh shit! Actually, okay, I see that, but it was that was a dramatic difference.
Yeah,
Um,
and the truth is, Anthony, happens to everybody who does it. So it's not just me. All my clients change so much. In fact, I tell them, look, when they come here, they're big inflamed faces, and I say to them, "Do you want to be a model?
mm,
I'm going to make you." And we get rid of that visceral fat. Their faces improve, and if they're older and they improve their faces, they get hired by a modeling agency. Why? Because old people are looking inflamed and unhealthy. And we
That's
get rid
true,
of that visceral
y'all.
fat, you look so much better. They can all do. I get them part-time modeling jobs
that's
in
hilarious.
modeling. Yeah.
That's
So
hilarious.
it's really, everybody will improve their face and their body as they get rid of visceral fat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the
Remember I
screen it was the
told you
same
that, Nina?
myself. My face was.
Remember we talked about that in our coaching session? Remember that? Okay? He said you get rid of visceral fat, you gotta look younger. Okay? Your face is gonna look younger. Your whole body is gonna you gotta have a glow about you. You gotta just stand out, you know. I'm not trying to say this because, y'all know me. I'm a very humble person. But I'm gonna tell you, it trips me out how every time I turn around, a complete stranger would just say to me, "Oh, you just glowing. You're so pretty. You just glowing." It is not just my features, it's because I have a youthful look now because I got rid of the visceral fat. I'm telling you, you are aging in reverse. That visceral fat makes you old. It gives you it gives you bad hormones that tears down the body cell by cell. All these diseases coming from this visceral fat. It gives you uh inflammation. Your face is inflamed. Your eyes, your nose, glaucoma, all this stuff come from that. I was wearing glasses, y'all. I had an inflamed face. My face was inflamed. My whole body was inflamed. And I was wearing glasses, and I thought it was just because I was nearsighted. But come to find out, it was the visceral fat and the sugar and all the stuff that I was eating. It was affecting my eyesight. I don't have to wear glasses now, okay? I'm not saying my eyesight is 20/20, but I tell you what, I can read the words across the room. I have a TV on the other side of this room, and I can actually read the words on the TV. It is far away. I was not able to do that before. I'm telling you, God knows what He talking about when He tell us to fast. Okay, that's why I say if you follow my advice that I'm learning, because God gave me the advice by bringing me to these different doctors here. If you follow my coaching and my advice, okay, just get lost in the pattern, okay? The patterns, the 3-day patterns, the patterns that I talk about. Just getting lost in the pattern and just have total faith and say, Lord, I trust you, okay? With all thy way, acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And stop thinking, stop worrying, stop listening to this, stop listening to that. Just look straight ahead and focus on going the pattern. If you do that, you will get the rewards because you're being obedient. All this man is telling you to do is what God has been saying, okay? He's just showing you from a scientific side and he's showing you proof. And y'all don't just see the proof on this video, y'all see the proof by looking at me, okay? Because it's a lot of people that have done uh, fasting uh, regimens but have not done every step that I'm saying, and they're not keeping the results. They're not able to get down to their ideal weight and to look younger. A lot of them are looking old and sick. You don't want to look like that. I'm telling you. Follow the patterns, okay? Follow the patterns. Follow the kingdom patterns. This is kingdom patterns we're talking about, okay? All right? Keep listening.
It was much more puffy, as well as the rest of me being puffy. But even when I was more muscular, but before I went
Oh, the
back
other
to
guy talking.
eating carnivore, I still had that puffiness in my face, unless I was like in the middle of season and I was just in like crazy good shape. Um, it was very different. And then, but yeah, and then like you just sort of like your face ages backwards. I think like my parents as well, 10 years younger. Uh, a few months
Yeah.
into to carnivore than they did, or certainly a year or so into
And it
carnivore
don't take
than they
long.
did prior to that, and their health markers and their health outcomes were much different as well, much improved.
Yeah, well, I'll
Yeah.
just quickly show this is me at age 30. And then I started to put on
Look,
visceral
look, here
fat.
you
So you
go,
can see the
Jasmine.
gradual
Mm.
inflammation of my
Look how old
face.
he looked right
And
there
then
when he was 30.
after here is where I learned about visceral fat. And so my face is starting to, and really what
Look
happens is
how
the
old he looked.
puffiness, which you call it's the shape of the face. So if you look at a 16, 18-year-old female, they're just the shape of their face is very pretty. They're very, mean looking. And same
Yeah.
thing, younger guys. So there's that expression, get yourself in shape, get your body in shape. Well, get your face in shape. Get rid of that visceral fat, go carnivore, and your shape of your face improves. So now my face starts to dramatically improve
Y'all
over
see
that
that?
period of time. So, on LinkedIn, people put their profiles, they use their old photographs. You think I'm using my
He
old
did.
photograph?
He
No,
did. He
right?
looked
Who's going to
50
come to
then.
me to be healthy? I'm going to use my latest photographs. You just get better and better as you get rid of that visceral fat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, seriously, like that looks, the previous one before you
Yup.
started this. I mean, that guy looks 20 years older than you do
Oh,
now,
good
like
for you.
legitimately.
Nita start her
And
3-day
like you
fast
wouldn't
tomorrow.
think that those
Yes.
were the same people.
Threes.
It's a very
Power in
dramatic difference.
threes.
Yeah, yeah, and then that's waiting for you, and it's just
Yeah.
it goes throughout your whole life. I mean, you
Mm.
sleep better, you're faster. I get 60-year-old guys out there sprinting, 60-year-old women. I had an 84-year-old client that would come over to my house and sprint.
Yeah.
Was
84,
fantastic,
y'all.
in his
Nice.
80s, and he just kept getting better. So yeah, this just keeps continuing to improve people's lives. Their quality of lives improve as you get rid of that visceral fat. And it's happening.
Yeah,
If
he
you
looked
go
old.
carnivore,
He
you're
looked
losing
old,
visceral
y'all,
fat.
when he was
But
young.
the benefit is if you do a scan, you get to focus in on that, and then you can find out you can do some other things like maximum intensity exercise,
Yeah.
doing sauna, cold shower, and then sunshine. With the onset and advent of visible pulses, I walk outside in the sun now, and I see dramatic improvement in front of my eyes to the magnitude of my pulse. So I get that
He's
feedback
right.
visually that the sun on my body is good because the blood flow is improving. Now,
Yep, when I
I
go
think back of
outside,
all
I
those
can see my
dermatologists and those
pulses
professors in med school
more.
that tell you sun is
All
dangerous and
this.
tan is
I
damaged
see my
skin
pulses when I go
and stuff
outside.
like that. And they would have you put on sunscreen, and then I don't get my beautiful nitric oxide immediately being released because you're covering up and putting sunscreen. Get yourself healthy so your body, which is perfectly adapted to sunshine. We are genetically designed from 4 million years of existence walking this planet to be exposed to meat and to sunshine. And so, I think in a short period of time, they're going to have, they start telling us they got to convince we can't eat meat, we can't go in the sunshine, and for God's sake, stay away from water. That'll be the next thing they'll tell us to stay away, and we're supposed to drink this fake drink, no longer water. So
That's true because they
sunshine is good.
demonize meat so
Natural things that
much.
we're
But we need
adapted
it.
to, I think, are good, and the healthier your body is, the better you respond to these things. So don't go
Meat or
avoiding them.
eggs or
Fix what's
some
wrong
kind
in
of
your body.
protein.
Start eating a healthy diet, and you'll have a much better response and a much better quality of life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. We're not troglodytes. We didn't evolve underground and burrowing around in tunnels like a mole. We're terrestrial beings. We're out there, supposed to be out there, on the surface of the earth, and sleep in caves
Look
or
how
something
good
like that.
he
But not
look,
spend our
y'all.
whole lives in there. And so like how can we not be
He's in his 40s.
used to being in the sun or at least not damaged by it severely. And if you are getting damaged by it, something else is going wrong in a grander scheme with your health, I think.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I notice in my clients as they eliminate visceral fat, they do much better. They get no sunburn. They tolerate the sun much better. And kind of interesting. I used to have a birthmark that I always had above my right areola, and somehow getting rid of visceral fat, that daggone thing disappeared.
Yep.
I mean, a birthmark.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so strange. And so, your capacity for restoring your skin. My hair got thick. I mean, I don't have a bald spot in my hair, and I'm
Nice.
just days away from turning 60. And if you go to a community center, if you go to church, and you see old people,
Yep.
I sit in the back
Anthony
of my
Chafee
church,
is in his
and I see
40s.
men and women with
I
thinning
think he's
hair,
like
and then I
43.
go and
He's a little bit younger than me.
going down the aisles in church, I see belly sticking out.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yep.
visceral fat thins the hair, worsens the skin. It just has this system-wide physiological effect. And so I think, God, if those older men and women had heard about the carnivore diet earlier, could we have spared them from thinning hair? And there is an interesting study. I haven't seen one about visceral fat, but heart fat. So the fat around the heart, there's an association between that amount of fat and male adrenergic alopecia. So
male pattern
that fat around the
baldness.
heart contributes to male pattern baldness and thinning the hair.
Heart
so,
fat. Are y'all hearing that?
If you are
It's a
somebody
link to it.
that is noticing some hair thinning, I would encourage you to absolutely consider going carnivore, and then look at this marker, the visceral fat in your abdomen, and fat around your heart, and work to eliminate those. And my legs and 300% growth in hair on my legs, and hair on my head. And if you think about your 60, 70, 80-year-old guys, as they get older, they just lose the hair all over their body. and
Yep.
decreased blood flow to the cutaneous structures, the follicles die off, and we see it coming back as people adopt carnivore, get rid of that visceral fat, blood flow improves, get these visible pulses, and the hair starts coming back, and they look so much better, live so much better, perform so much better.
Yeah, I did sort of make me laugh, thinking about 60-year-old man like suiting up on for an NFL game, in the Super
Talking
Bowl or
about the
something like
fountain
that.
of youth,
But
y'all. I
to your
helped y'all
point,
find the
like
fountain of youth through this too.
thinking that
He said he'll renew our
people in
youth
their
like the eagle.
50s and 60s, why wouldn't they be able to do that? I mean, we're genetically designed to live 120 years according to the length of our
God wasn't
telomere.
lying.
So that's middle age, and you're right. You have decades of experience, and it reminded me of Alexander the Great and his fighting force that took over most of the known world, and then a lot of the unknown world and a lot of unexplored world in India and so on. His troops were between the ages of 20 and 60. So he had 60-year-old men with 13-foot spears
You
out on
hear
the
that?
battlefield, just tearing through different armies, and they had a kill ratio of about 50 to 1. They would kill 50 people for every one that they lost. And he had one of his generals, I forget his name. He was actually in his late 70s. He was like 76 or 78, and he was ahead of his cavalry. And so he was at the front of the cavalry leading the charge in his late 70s. And so this is not that far fetched, actually. And this is someone who had 60 years of experience behind under his belt, and knew exactly what to do and exactly how to survive, and to make sure other people didn't survive. So I actually, it sort of caught me as like, oh, that would be funny, but you know what? We were fully capable of it. It's happened before. There's no reason it can't happen again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think in between the time period of Alexander the Great and modern times, you have a lifestyle where it's dramatically propagating visceral fat and chronic disease. And so this average 78-year-old guy, actually in America, um, has lived to past his prime. He's dead. I think now life expectancy is now in the 77. It keeps going down because
Y'all
chronic
hearing
disease
that?
is increasing for the first time in the history of humanity. It's chronic life expectancy is decreasing because chronic disease is increasing faster than our ability to treat it. So life expectancy keeps declining. So yeah, 77, 78-year-old guys
We
today
changing
are
that
in horrific
paradigm,
shape.
y'all.
They can barely walk.
Okay?
They can't get up out of
Who's
chairs,
with me?
much less jump
Who's
out of
with me,
horse and
okay?
carry heavy equipment and lead lead
Who
men
with
into
me?
battle, lead other people into battle. So yeah, I think our ancestors. I tell my
We
clients, if we
warrior
could,
queens.
Anthony, teleport ourselves back 50,000 years to when we were much healthier, people would look at you and me and run for the hills because they'd be like, man, these people are really screwed up. These guys got some bad juju. They're very diseased because compared to our ancestors back then, they were much healthier. They would have had much better performing muscles, a higher, a much lower incidence of
That's what
disease
I'm
in their
talking
body
about.
and we
We
walk around
changing that
tolerating disease
paradigm,
because
ladies.
it's the norm. It's just what's modeled to us. Obesity, diabetes, irritable bowel, inflammatory bowel. It's just it's part of the course, and it should be. If you're listening today,
I'm telling you.
Listen. We have the
That's why the
capacity to live
enemy
to be
fight my
120,
camera so
and you
bad.
should.
He don't want
And
y'all to
so
know
I would
about
submit to
this.
you
He don't
with
want us
the
to tell the
correct knowledge
world.
about your lifestyle. And we didn't look at visceral fat for 4 million years to do MRI scans for sure. So what did our ancestors look at if they didn't have visceral fat to look at? Well, there were other things on the skin and on your body. One, I talked about just the contour of the abdomen. So when you were 20 years old, that 60-year-old, 60, 70-year-old chief of your clan, if he or she detected the smallest anterior displacement, they were on your butt about what it is. You're eating too many figs, too many dates, you're hanging out at the campfire too long, and you're not out hunting, you're not out sprinting, you're not eating enough healthy meat or something. You got to change your lifestyle. So they would not have had this air of permissibility, anything goes. they would have been, nipping that in the bud. So the shape and the performance of the muscles, and then telangiectasias. We didn't, I didn't do an example of it, but telangiectasias are just spider veins. And a really good example you use just eyelids. The eyelid
Look,
oftentimes through
y'all.
thin skin reveals these spider veins or telangiectasias, and through adopting, meat-based diet and straining high-intensity exercise, resolution
I told you, Nina.
of those diseased vessels.
Changes
That
your
a lot of
eyes,
women
change
have
all
on
of
their
it.
legs, and they're running to
Your
vein
skin
clinics to
change.
get
Everything
injected or
change.
get stripped. Inject yourself with meat. Get rid of those plants. Open up, your vasculature, improve your cardiovasculature, and that venous stasis that you see manifest in spider veins reverse. And nail beds. Nail beds are dusty and purple, and gross looking, onychomycosis, thickening of the nails. The Chinese physicians have an expression that we die from our feet first. So, I see real diseased nails and fingernails and toenail as people adopt the carnivore diet and these other strategies that I share with my clients, optimize their health. Their nail beds turn nice and pink. And if you look at a kid that's like 1, 2, 3 years old, they have these really red fingernails, real red toenails, and real red, beautiful lips. From the perfusion, the ultimate perfusion of that tissue, it almost looks like they have lipstick on, these young kids. And that's why the number one selling color for lipstick and nail polish for toenails and fingernails is red, to have this biological attraction. So, women are running around with red lipstick and red toenails and fingernails, or go carnivore, in spring. Use the sauna, do these things, go out and get
I
sun,
just love
and
red
improve
lipstick and
the
red
appearance of your
nails.
toenails.
It's so
And so
classy
that's
to
in
me.
my opinion the answer to how our ancestors who did not have an MRI machine, they saw
That's
the
my look.
consequences of visceral fat is the presence of disease that was manifesting. But today I talk about it because the visceral fat is dramatic and something you can go out and get a scan and quickly follow, and you'll see all these other things will improve in your body.
Nice. Yeah, and just thinking about it, back about myself, I was 38 when I came back to a carnivore diet. Something I had done for 5 years in my early 20s. Just by happenstance, I learned how toxic plants were and all the carcinogenic nature of them, and so I was like, well, I'm not eating those, and I didn't want to anyway. But it was a good excuse to get away from them completely. And that was a period of my life that I had never felt better. I'd never been in better shape. And you think, well, it's your early 20s, but when I was 25 and I just started slipping off of that, it was a dramatic difference. And I remember thinking, like, why don't I feel how I normally do? Why don't I feel as superhuman amazing as I normally do? And I didn't figure it out until I was 38. And like, that was it. That's when I stopped eating a strict no plant diet and just started, like, a little bit of things started slipping in. And then it progressed on from there. But at 38, when I went back to a carnivore diet, and just cut out plants. And it was really only 2 weeks. I still had visceral fat even.
You heard him. He
At
said
that
at
point,
38.
I'm sure. Well, actually, well,
That
I
means
wasn't eating
he
too many
much
carbs. But
older than that
anyway, I was
now.
overweight. But after a couple weeks of this, I felt so much better, physically in myself, that I went back out and started playing high-level rugby again with my team in Seattle that had just gone professional, and I was able to keep up with everyone. And after 2 weeks, just 2 weeks of training, I'd just come back from Bangladesh and had been doing humanitarian work there, and so I had no training while I was there. I probably hadn't played a full season of rugby in a solid 3 years. My last season had been
Now he played
at
professional,
35,
what you call like
and so
football
really had
at
taken like a
38.
3 year break. And I went back, and within 2 weeks of training, they had been training for months. We did a fitness test called the modified bleep test, which is awful. It's an awful test, but it's but it's a lot of sprinting, and you sprint to a line, and you have basically a time limit to get to each line, and you have like a couple seconds rest, and you do it again, and it starts off slow, and it gets faster and faster and faster and faster until you can't make it anymore, and you tap out, or you just don't make the line. And so I ended up getting sort of in the top 5 on this team of professional rugby players that had been training for months, and I had just changed my diet, and that had made that huge effect. And I felt great. At 38, I just got better and better. I got in great shape again. I felt better at 38 than I did at 27, playing professional rugby and training for many hours a day, and now I was able to train again. I was able to lift weights for hours a day. I was able to train for hours a day and sprint for hours a day, and I was, and I felt great. And
Yep.
I had 20 years of experience, and so I knew what I was doing, and I started playing high level rugby again. Unfortunately, I had issues with my knee, and I wasn't able to finish the season, but I felt amazing, and it was just it sucked because I felt so great, and I was like, this stupid knee just keeps swelling up, and I
Y'all
had to get
look
it
at this
scoped.
picture.
Unfortunately, I had like loose.
Y'all see this picture of me? That was me back in 2000, 2020. Y'all see I had glasses on? You see how I had visceral fat? See how big I am in that picture? This was me before I even had any weight loss at all. Like, I think, I know I had to been at least 270, or I had to be close to 3 here. It was a point in time, y'all, where I didn't even weigh myself because I just did not want to know, because I knew I was big. I knew I was big and I did not want to know. So I was like, what? I did not want to know, okay? Clearly, you see that's me because I got the queen necklace on, okay? I always knew that I was supposed to be a queen, okay? I just didn't know that I was supposed to be the vision queen, okay? Giving you guys the vision of the kingdom of God and giving you guys a vision of how God would totally keep his word where he would tell you that he will renew your youth like the eagle. I got the message here from God at this size. Matter of fact, this was my 41st birthday, y'all. This was at my 41st birthday dinner. All right. And I heard God tell me that he would renew my youth like the eagle. And I was going to do a diet program with a lady, and she was at the party too. She was supposed to be my health coach. But this happened in January, my birthday. The pandemic happened in March. Excuse me, y'all. So that plan did not happen. God told me to wait. I waited on God for the way to do it. Just like Nina, how you told me God told you when you was talking about fasting with that clinic, and he told you to wait. He told me to wait here. So I waited, y'all, from 2020 to 2022 when I finally got the answer to fast. I had to wait 2 years. So think about that. Next time you like, God, when you gonna show up? He may not come when you wanted to, but he will still come on time. I had to wait that long for the answer, for the revelation, for the vision. Okay? Though you may tarry. All right? Write down the vision and make it plain. Though you may tarry, the vision will come to pass. Look how long I had to wait, y'all. So, what I'm saying to you, you may be going through a waiting period now where, you know, you found me, but you're trying to find your way to do this. Just follow the patterns, okay? I'm still getting over my little cold, y'all, so please forgive me. with coughing in your ear. But follow the patterns, y'all. Follow the patterns. I had to wait for the revelation, but now I'm teaching the revelation, okay? Take my advice. All right? Invest in yourself. Do the coaching. All right? Don't go through the pitfalls of trying to do it on your own. When God gave someone the answer that is so close to you, it's not by coincidence. We don't know each other. We ain't in the same state. It's not by coincidence that you found me. Okay? It's not by coincidence that you heard about the kingdom of God through a vessel. There just happened to be a little woman that has went through the struggle just like you have. Okay? It's not by coincidence, y'all. Ain't no such thing as coincidence. What it is we have to open our awareness to see the miracles of God. And sometimes those miracles will come in unexpected places. Okay? But we have to be open for the information. I was open for the information when he said to wait on the Lord, he will renew my strength. Okay? I will mount up with wings as an eagle. I will run and not get weary. I will walk and not faint. When I got the information after I waited and renewed my strength like the eagle while everybody was panicking through this pandemic, like what we gonna do? What we gonna do? I was waiting on the Lord. I was doing fasting and praying during the pandemic. No, I wasn't fasting to lose weight. I was fasting to hear from my Father about my mission. Okay? But during that time, fasting and praying and just waiting on the Lord and waiting, just waiting, He was renewing my strength. My strength is my joy. I got my joy back during that time. While everybody was panicking and crying about this pandemic, I was having fun making stuff, sewing and crafting and building things with my hands. I was building with my hands. Little dioramas and stuff and making storylines and learning how to write. Now I'm using that skill to write my own book and getting creative and joyful and meeting people online with that hobby. Okay? Learning to get into a hobby instead of sitting there using your hands to feed your face with junk. You're going to be using your hands to build things or sew or do some kind of hobby uh, um, instead of eating. In America, we made eating our hobby. I'm serious. We made eating our hobby, eating this garbage. Sitting in front of the TV, watching the news with this bad news all day long, whether it's YouTube or regular TV or Netflix, and eating junk food. That became the hobby. Instead of creating things, uh, it was getting to the point where I would hardly eat sometimes anyway because I was so busy painting stuff and creating things. It's true, Jasmine. We made eating junk food our hobby in America. We don't do hobbies like our parents did when they went outside and rode bicycles and scooters and played baseball. They played baseball and softball and kickball and volleyball and played in the neighborhood and rode bicycles and skateboards and stuff like that. My generation and my parents' generation, you know, I'm an 80s baby, okay? But we made playing video games and watching TV and eating junk food and Skittles and popcorn and chips and crisps and Pringles and all this junk food sitting in front of the TV playing video games and watching Netflix. That became my hobby. And that's why we're so big in America. And you like just mindlessly eating, just grazing food like a cow, like cows eat. Cows are grazing. We not supposed to graze. We supposed to only eat one meal a day, maybe twice. We're sitting here eating. Every time we turn around, we put something in our mouth. Sometimes we don't even realize we put something in our mouth. There'll be sometimes I have some nuts or M&Ms in the house and I just put it in my mouth. Not hungry, nothing, just put it in my mouth. Okay? So trust me, when I tell y'all this stuff, I'm preaching to the choir. This was me. This was me on my 41st birthday. Okay? This was me on my 41st birthday. So believe me, when I talk to y'all about this stuff, I am preaching to the choir. Okay? I went through this. All right? Just trust me when I tell you. Follow the patterns. God showed me the patterns. Ain't nothing special about me other than the fact that He gave me the information because I trusted and He waited and I waited for Him. I waited for Him. I was gonna do that program with that lady. But because of the pandemic, I did not do it because, we had to be locked down. Okay? It took a pandemic, I guess, to make me finally sit down and be quiet. But it worked in that case. But at the same time, he was showing me to be quiet and just look at how this pandemic, how these people are dying during this pandemic. And the main ones that were dying is because they were metabolically sick, because they had these diseases that came from eating this garbage, y'all. This garbage came from this garbage. They were getting bigger with this visceral fat. Everybody walking around with tires around their waist and like he said, the dad bods and all that. That is visceral fat around the organs and the heart, y'all, and the heart fat. And you saw how it showed the diagram with the stroke. You could get a stroke. They had lesions in their brain and stuff. All it took was that person to stop eating this garbage. It only took 13 weeks, he said. And that lesion healed in their brain. Okay? We heard about people having strokes all the time. One decision to stop eating this garbage. One vision of yourself being healthy, and one decision to say, I'm not going to do it no more. I'm going to go for my vision of being healthy. Lady Tay showed me the information. I'm going to do what she say. If I need the accountability, I'm going to get into her coaching. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. You could be turning it around. You don't know if you keep eating this stuff, if you're going to have a stroke next year. Okay? My husband could tell you about the story. If my husband did not get that initial weight off that he did, and he didn't start improving his health, that little minor scare that was almost a stroke could have been a real stroke that really really hurt him, that he had in January. He had an episode. And I believe that if he did not get that 80 pounds off the way he did, it would have been far worse. Okay? He have no signs of the episode. It was such a light warning, enough to tell him, hey, don't go back. Don't go back to eating that way. Because if you go back to eating that way, it will be worse next time. Okay? We get warnings all the time. All right? And I thank the Lord that he did not have a massive stroke. It was so minor that he didn't have he had no symptoms, y'all, other than the fact that he felt weak a little bit. All right, and we took him to the hospital. But had he not changed his eating habits when he did and got that initial 80 pounds off his body, that stroke could have been worse. Where he would probably, I don't even want to think of it. Okay? But we know now to not go back to eating the garbage, because it wasn't just me eating the junk food, it was him eating it with me. We were eating it together. We were eating the pizzas. We were eating the junk food. We was eating the Chick-fil-A sandwiches with the nuggets and the cookies and the lemonades and all of that. We was eating all that together. And have he not gotten that weight off, y'all, and started changing his eating habits, I really believe that would have been a whole lot worse for him. It was a warning, y'all. It is a warning for you guys too. You have an opportunity to change this around. We don't know what happened today at this point in this video with TD Jakes and what happened to him at church. We don't know if he had a blood sugar thing. We don't know if he had excuse me. With TD Jakes, we don't know if he had a blood sugar thing. We don't know if it was a stroke. We don't know if it was a heart issue. We don't know what it is. But I tell y'all what, this is a warning to all of us, especially to the body of Christ. We got to start getting our health in order, y'all. We got an opportunity. Now, at this point, and that's why I say I get on here behind this camera and talk about this for a reason, okay? I don't want y'all's blood on my hands. See, I got the information, but if I would have just sat on this information and tell y'all, okay, first y'all wouldn't have known me. Then y'all would have had the information. Y'all probably would have got it somewhere else, okay? But because I did not do what God told me to do and tell people about this, if something would have happened to one of y'all blood would be on my hands. And hey, I'm not having that, okay? See, once I tell you the information, it's up to you whether or not you gonna follow the information. But I'm telling you, I hope and pray to God that you do. That's why I do what I'm doing. I'm sitting up here at 1:30 in the morning and have to be to work at 9 tomorrow, y'all. But I wanted to make sure I get this done so I could get this on YouTube, because I need y'all to understand, okay? Of all the stuff that I've been talking about with y'all need to understand that this visceral fat is what's causing all the issues. Y'all don't need to just hear me talk about carb garbage. Y'all need to know why y'all need to get rid of this carb garbage, y'all. I'm telling you, this is what's killing the body of Christ. This is the reason why so many people in the body of Christ died during this pandemic that passed, y'all. I'm not going to say what it is because, I don't want to get flagged for saying the word. But y'all know what happened in the pandemic, okay? Y'all were here. Most of the people that died is because they had metabolic disorders that cause heart disease, strokes, diabetes, um, hypertension, PCOS, all this stuff. All this stuff, y'all. Okay? This came from that. Eating this garbage. Okay? And you don't think the industry know that? They know that. I told y'all before, sick care is big business, okay? They get paid more money from you being sick than you being well, okay? Why you think they make eggs and meat so high? Because they don't want you to get it. They want you to look at this egg box and this meat and be like, golly, look how much this steak is. But look how much them little wings are. And look how much money I can save if I get that lean cuisine and or this pan of lasagna. I can feed my whole family with this pan of lasagna. But you have no idea that when you make a choice like that because you think you saving money, you gonna be paying on the back end. Either you go pay now for good quality food or you go pay later when you going to them doctors and paying them all them co-pays and paying for monthly prescriptions every month just to pat your butt up because you didn't make the right choice and eat the right food. Okay? You gonna pay now or you gonna pay later? Which one you gonna pay? Cause you gonna pay the price no matter what. You gonna pay either the price of good health and longevity, or you gonna pay the price of sickness and have to depend on your kids, and a lot of them are not in a situation where they can take care of you because they're choosing the wrong choices just like you did when you were younger, and they don't have no money because they spent all their money on junk food like you did when you were younger, so they ain't got no money to take care of you when you old. Okay? It's a cycle, it's a pattern. Stop following the patterns of the world or the patterns of sick people and start following the patterns of the kingdom of God and start being good stewards over our Father's money. Okay? And start choosing the right choices of good health because your health is your wealth. You can't be wealthy without good health. Ask anybody who has all this money, but they sitting on their deathbed wishing they could have their life again because they chose to put making money over their health. Okay? All right? I hope I'm making this very clear. Uh I see Nina said, "Oh, wow. Your husband had a massive stroke and it was debilitating. He was in a hospital a month and a week. I'm sorry to hear that." Said tomorrow would have been his 66th birthday. I'm so sorry, Nina. I'm sorry you went through that. I'm sorry you going through that still. You know, my husband is my best friend, so I can't imagine, That's hard. I'm so sorry that you going through that, Nina. That's that's why I'm working so hard. Because I don't like to see, I don't like to see people suffer when they don't have to. And if I had a way to just put it in you like that, I would. But the only way I know how to do it is just my testimony. That's the only way. Is telling my testimony and continue to tell my testimony so that maybe somehow it gets here that hey, if the vision queen could do it, she's a vision of what I could be if I just follow the pattern. I'm hoping and praying that if you just follow the patterns that I'm teaching you guys, okay? And if you need extra help, reach out to me. And you can see that you can do it because I know you can do it because I'm a human being and so are you. Okay? If I can do it, you can do it. All right? It's just a matter that the fact that I did it first and I want to help as many of y'all as I can. And 2025 is coming. And this is the time where you really need to make that decision because the world ain't getting no better. But you gotta make sure that you get better. Because in order for you to survive in the world that we going into, you need to have your health. Y'all see they poisoning us in this food. Y'all see the food got it's so much chemicals in this food that they won't even allow us to sell their food in some of their countries unless we change the ingredients. But somehow they still keep the ingredients the same for us. All right, I showed y'all that with Kellogg's. I showed y'all that with Doritos and all these companies. They have to change the ingredients for the other companies in order to sell it. Well, if they change it for them, why can't they keep it that way for us? They don't care about you. They don't care about my and your children. But you better care. And God give us the information. We always talk about Lord, 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 heal me. But you got to put some action behind that, okay? Yes, I want to heal you. Stop eating it. This how I heal you. It's gonna take some action on your side, okay? We ask God for help, but we gotta do the work. Faith without works is dead. Oh yes, you gotta do the work. These people talking about, come to my tent revival and I'm gonna heal you, just come. That is garbage. No, God give you knowledge, and he give you the information through people who have the wisdom to show you how to use the knowledge so you can have understanding to do it. And that's where your healing comes from. All right? But you have to do the work. You have to do the work. Okay? Anyway, it's been a pleasure, y'all. Thank y'all for coming tonight. That was he's really getting more into teaching about, the carnivore and stuff like that. So he's not really talking about as far as what to do for the visceral fat, other than stop eating the carb garbage and eat real food. The same thing I keep teaching y'all, okay? Meat, vegetables, nuts, legumes, some fruit. Some fruit. When you get down to your goal weight, you can eat more fruit more often, but until you heal yourself of insulin resistance and you release the weight, you have to limit the fruit as well, okay? And a lot of people don't like to hear that. But y'all need to look at it like this. You heard the other way around for many, many years. You tried that. You've been there and done that. You don't eat the salads. You don't eat the fruit salads. You don't drink the smoothies. You don't you don't drink the fruit juices. And what did it do? You didn't lose any weight, right? You didn't reduce the weight. You didn't get healed. Okay? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Let's try something different this time. Okay? That's what I did. I tried something different this time. I did the opposite of what they said. And voila. Here I am sitting here wearing a size 4 dress. Sometimes a size 2. I've never been this size before. I never had an athletic build before. I never had people come to me and ask me, do I work out and will I help them? I ain't never had that before. Of my whole life, I've always been a big woman. Now all of a sudden, complete strangers coming up to me asking me for health advice and what do I do to get fit? Okay, never in my life have I had that happen before. And I've had people that I listened to in the past, that so-called health coaches or so-called personal trainers at different gyms and stuff, and selling these Herbalife and all that, drinking their pills and shakes. They ain't never told me to change what I eat, as far as stop eating sugar and carbs and garbage. They said eat that in moderation. Well, I decided to do something different, and guess what? It worked. So let's stop the insanity, y'all, and do something different now, okay? This time, do something different. Follow a health coach that have done it already. Not just done it and got it off, but kept it off. That's keeping it off. Here I am going into year 2 now, and I'm keeping it off. And as a matter of fact, getting better and better, and totally changed the shape of my body. Okay? Because I stopped listening to what everybody else is saying, and I started listening to God, and He started showing me different people that said something totally different. They told us don't eat meat. That's what I eat mostly. I do the opposite of what they said. Okay? They tell diabetics you need to eat grains and look at the American Diabetes website. Everything they tell them to eat opposite of that. And I guarantee you gonna be able to change your A1C and eventually heal yourself from that. Okay? They don't want you to say you healed, but you can say you healed. If you healed, you're gonna go into remission and you're gonna get healed. Type 2 diabetes is a diet issue. Okay? It's what you're eating. It's not hereditary. You turned on the switch when you decided to eat what everybody else been eating in your family. Eat differently than them. Okay? Thanksgiving coming. Let them eat all the junk. You eat the meat. You don't have to eat the dressing and all that. Do you really have to eat the macaroni and cheese and all that? That was my weakness. I guarantee you that's not what I'm going to eat. Give me the turkey. Give me the meat. Okay? Give me the turkey legs. Give me the meat. Okay? Give me the greens. I like collard greens. Okay? I eat that. Okay? But do you really have to eat everything that they eat? Let them make that choice. Don't preach to them. You reach them by you being the example first, okay? Because if you preach to them and you still got weight coming off, they go eat you alive. Don't do that. Don't preach to them. Don't even say nothing. Just choose to put more protein on your plate, and I guarantee you gonna even have room for the rest of the stuff. Okay? All right. You can do it. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Thank y'all for coming. I know it's late. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm about to go to bed because I got to go to work in the morning. Did y'all have any other questions before I leave? Nina said, yes, amen. That's why we change our lives. Yes, it's time to do it. Nina, we have to be the example. You know, you and I at our age, we have to be the example. You know, we teach the young women by our action. Okay? We teach them by the way we live. I'm reaching more people now just by the way I live. I ain't even got to say a word. They just look at me and Miss Tay, what you eating? They'll see I eat. I'll probably just be eating some boiled eggs or something like that. That's what you eat. They watching. Okay? Miss Tay, you work out. What kind of workouts you do? They watching. Okay? Lead by example. They don't want to hear what your lecture. They want to see your results. Okay? That's what we supposed to do. All right? Anyway, guys, well, it's been a pleasure. I think everybody is falling asleep. That's okay. Y'all need to get used to this because sometimes I have to get on here late, y'all. I'm sorry, but I work. I work in the daytime, so sometimes I gotta make these late shows. And a lot of the shows that y'all see on my channel before I started doing these lives like this, I was making them in the middle of the night like this, okay? Anyway, Nita said, that's good news. Thank you, Queen. And blessings over everyone's Thanksgiving. Yes, blessings over everyone's Thanksgiving. Just ask the Lord. Write down your vision and make it plain on paper. And, just remember when you going around there, think about your vision. Think about your vision. If you have to think about me when you there, think about what would Lady Tay say to me. That's what help Jasmine make decisions. She think about the fact that she have a coaching session with me soon, and she don't want to have to come and be accountable and tell me that she didn't do the right thing. So that make her continue to do the right thing. Okay, that's what is good to have a coach. Okay, and ask her; she'll let you know. All right. Well, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go. I'm all nasaled up. All right. Well, guys, remember, if you can think it, you can see it, and if you can see it, you can be it, baby. Come on and become everything that God has created you to become, and we're gonna have an awesome 2025. Okay. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna be the only one that spit around here. I'm ready now. I'm ready to start seeing my warrior queens come on and rise up, baby. All right. Well, I love you guys so much. Y'all are my sisters, okay? And you have a happy Thanksgiving. I love you guys. Have a great night, okay? Bye bye.